All right. Welcome, everyone. I now call this meeting of the Sacramento City Council 2 p.m. meeting to order at 2:05. So apologies that we're just a few minutes late here. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Member Kaplan?
Here.
Member Tao?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Talamantes?
Here.
Member Valenzuela?
Here.
Member Guerra?
Here.
Member Jennings?
Here.
Member Vang?
Here.
Vice Mayor Maple?
I'm here.
Forum.
All right. Thank you so much. Madam City Attorney, do you have anything to report out of closed session?
There's nothing to report out at this time.
All right. Thank you so much. Councilmember Kaplan, would you mind joining or leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the land acknowledgement?
Please rise for the opening acknowledgments in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, the Valley and Plain Miwok, the Patwin-Wintun peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather today in active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's histories, contributions, and lives. Thank you. Please remain standing. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, Councilmember Kaplan. All right. And we are going to start off today with a very special presentation recognizing the legacy of Daniel Blue on the eve of Juneteenth. And we'll get started with Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I am honored to co-lead this special presentation with Councilmember Lisa Kaplan in recognition of the life and legacy of Daniel Blue, a Sacramentan whose life brought light and true change to the lives of so many and whose achievements have shaped California history by paving the way for citizens of all backgrounds to achieve great things in an environment where all are treated as equals and discrimination of any kind is rebuked. Like so many in our state's history, Daniel Blue came to California from another part of the nation in search of new opportunities for himself and his family. Daniel experienced the horrors of slavery in his home state of Kentucky before resettling in California during the Gold Rush era. There, through his incredible initiative and determination, he built his fortune mining along the Sacramento River, our own Sacramento River. He didn't keep that wealth for himself. He used the wealth to purchase his freedom and begin building a community by establishing with the many members who are in our presence today, the St. Andrew's African American Methodist Episcopal Church, a place of gathering and solidarity that would become and has become a vital institution in furthering abolitionism and other social justice causes. The congregation of St. Andrew's would go to play an essential role in successfully advocating for many of the earliest pieces of civil rights legislation in California history. Among the many inspiring accomplishments of Daniel Blue in his career is marked by California's legal rejection of the injustices that come along with slavery. Daniel successfully engaged with the Sacramento Superior Court to secure the emancipation of a 12-year-old girl who had been enslaved in what would become the state's defining case on this issue. As we celebrate Daniel Blue's legacy today and reflect upon all of the ways in which he benefited from it on the eve of this year's Juneteenth, let's remember all Americans have suffered under racial injustice, slavery, bigotry, and honor those who committed themselves to advancing freedom and justice for all people throughout this great region and throughout this country. Ladies and gentlemen, we honor the life and legacy of Daniel Blue. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague for additional comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Jennings. So we honor the life and legacy of Daniel Blue, but he still has relevance today because we have to recognize the historical contributions of an individual's life who represents the character of our city and our state in so many ways. In Daniel's story, we can see the embodiment of an idea which is part of all of us as Californians, the hope for a better future through hard work, innovation, and communities built on equity, inclusion, and respect. Daniel Blue's perseverance, compassion, and bringing diverse individuals together is an inspirational model of service. We can be proud that our values of Sacramentans and Californians are a contemporary reflection of the principles that Daniel dedicated his life advocating for. As citizens, sometimes we feel powerless to address the issues that affect our lives. Daniel's legacy is a reminder that we can each have the capacity to change the world around us. The main theme of Daniel Blue's life of integrity, compassion, and leadership as we face the challenges of our own time. I hope we can all take inspiration and learn the history and story of Daniel's life and how he faced the injustices of our past. And through that struggle, created a community that found the strength in adversity through its value of diversity and respect for human dignity and the legacy of St. Andrew's AME Church. May his example and his life be a model for us to rely on as we move forward as a city in realizing the vision that he had so that we can implement it today. At this time, I would like to welcome up Pastor Jason Thompson of St. Andrew's AME Church, which Daniel Blue founded, to say a couple of words. Thank
Welcome.
you, Pastor.
To the Honorable Mayor Steinberg, Honorable council members and fellow residents of Sacramento. It is with deep reverence and humility that I stand before you as the pastor of the St. Andrew's AME Church, which is the Pacific Coast's oldest historically Black congregation, which was founded by the visionary leader we recognize today, Mr. Daniel Blue. My heart swells with gratitude for this special resolution honoring a man whose legacy continues to reverberate through the halls of our own beloved church and the streets of Sacramento. We are reminded of the long and arduous journey towards freedom and equality, a journey that continues today as this resolution comes just ahead of Juneteenth and in the wake of the collective remembering of Emanuel 9 shootings, reminding all of us of the ongoing struggle for freedom and justice. In the face of unimaginable adversity, Mr. Blue and others built a church that became a sanctuary for the marginalized, a schoolhouse for the forgotten, and a background or battleground for civil rights. It was within these church walls that California's last known enslaved person found her freedom. It was within that church that children of all races learned side by side without the poison of prejudice. And it was there that the seeds of political change were sown, leading to a more just and equitable California. Today, our congregation carries that torch forward by remaining committed to the values Blue instilled, values of equality, compassion, and the pursuit of knowledge. Like many churches, we invest in scholarship funds, mentorship programs, and champion education that considers cultural context, ensuring that the next generation understands the sacrifices made and the battles yet to be won. As we honor Blue, I urge all of us, councilpersons and Sacramento residents alike, to recommit ourselves to Blue's unfinished work of building a better and a brighter future for all who call Sacramento home. Honoring Blue's legacy means that we invest in our schools, that we uplift our most vulnerable populations, and that we dismantle systemic barriers everywhere. By doing so, we transform this resolution into a blueprint for action, creating pathways where every person can reach their full potential, not just those who are a part of the privileged few. A question that the prophet Micah posed centuries ago still remains relevant now. What does the Lord require of us but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly before our God? Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and thank you for honoring the legacy of Mr. Daniel Blue.
Thank you, Pastor.
Beautiful.
I would like to invite everybody from St. Andrew's AME Church to come on up and join Councilmember Jennings and I down.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful presentation. I thank both the members for bringing this forward and for the beautiful speech. Thank you so much, Pastor. All right. Okay, now we will move on to the consent calendar. Do any members have items that they want to pull for a separate vote or to comment on? I see Councilmember Kaplan.
Just a brief comments on item 2, 13, and 25.
Okay, thank you. Any other members have any items on the consent calendar? Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to speak on item 3 and speak on item 14, please, when the time is appropriate after public comment.
Okay, great. Any other members before I move on? Okay. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, seeing no public comment, I'll move on to Councilmember Kaplan for item 2.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to call attention, because sometimes I think it's important to notice, well, on consent, you see sometimes suspending of competitive bidding on proposals. And this one, I just want to say that it's we do this when it's a very specific item and it's requiring certain technical qualifications, and just call out that, you know, I do call staff and ask why we're doing it, because there is a balance of sometimes of when we suspend bidding too much versus not enough, and just call attention to this one. I did look into and found the reasons for suspending bidding valid, but something I think we should always just be mindful of.
Thank you very much. All right, Councilmember Guerra on item 3.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. First, I wanted to thank the staff here in our transportation department and everyone involved in the Vision Zero effort. This item allows us to accept a grant of $342,000 for improving Howe Avenue, and from Howe Avenue all the way up to Folsom Boulevard. And for any of those of us who drive through that area every day, or cycle through that area every day, or walk through that area every day, we know how intense and how dangerous it is. And this exception of this grant money goes a long way in starting that change. And so I do want to thank our city staff in this effort. I know we've had fatalities on Howe Avenue of cyclists, and not only that, but we have a number of community of our aging Sacramentans who are going back and forth in that area. So I wanted to thank staff on that one. On, if I could go on item 12,
Certainly.
Vice Mayor. Also wanted to call attention to item 14, and thank this is where sometimes one government agency trips over another government agency, but this is one where all of us are working together to break through those silos. And this is the Air Quality Management District, SMUD, our city, along with UC Davis, to really move the needle on EV charger infrastructure and making sure that we're making some changes. The fact that, we've led the way on creating 13 public libraries that have EV charging stations so that those who don't have the ability to charge at home can go to a library and be able to do that. That is a great resource. I want to thank our current chair of the Library Authority, Councilmember Talamantes, and our board members who are there for supporting these efforts. And also the fact that we've put out 30 electric bikes at our lending library as well, and the community car share program, so that we can really move the needle on air quality. So wanted to thank again and highlight those two items. I get to wear on this not only a council member hat, a JPA hat, but also a cardboard member hat on that. I want to thank again the city manager, your team, on making sure we're breaking the silos of government.
Great points and really important work. Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan on items 13 and 25.
Thank you. And then I just want to correct that. I believe Councilmember Guerra, you were speaking on item 14.
Correct. Yes, I misspoke at first.
But just in case somebody is looking at a litigation expert of what you were talking about versus.
I said 13 at first, and then I was like, oh, I meant 14.
So on item 13, Assistant City Member Jasso, just a quick question, because I know Councilmember Guerra and Vang are on SETA, and I'm not, and this is something that we are looking to, one, expand the SETA board, and it's a balance that we have with the county. I just want to, is this best practices? What is the reasoning we're doing this? What is missing, and why do we need to do this?
Sure, I'll cover very briefly about what it does specifically, and I would turn it over to Councilmember Guerra and Councilmember Vang to speak to the policy kind of import of it. So the motion before you requests an amendment to the Joint Exercise Powers Agreement for the Sacramento Employment and Training Agency, SETA. This was requested by Councilmember Guerra on the City Council on April the 8th for the City Manager to bring before the entirety of the Council. It does a couple of things. First, it gives the SETA Governing Board the sole authority to appoint and dismiss the SETA's Executive Director. That authority currently rests with the City of Sacramento City Manager and the Chief Executive of the county. Secondly, it expands the governing board from 5 members to 7 members, and achieves that principally by replacing the 1 public member with 3 public members who bring subject matter kind of expertise to it. That subject matter expertise is they would need to represent a labor organization. They would need to, one would need to come from the business community, and a third would need to come from the community college district, and specifically have experience with apprenticeship programs, early childhood programs, education programs, or certificate programs. It also provides that these public members would serve for a period of 1-year terms. It also clarifies that the chair and the vice chair of the SETA board would need to come from the members that are unilaterally appointed from the City Council and the County Board of Supervisors, and that those positions would rotate annually. And finally, it expands SETA's authority to enter into contracts at a threshold directly under the chief executive to a level of 250, which is where HUD currently, where their federal governing bodies currently are. So with that, I would turn it over to Councilmember Guerra and Councilmember Vang. Thank you.
Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember, for bringing this question up. We haven't reviewed our documents for SETA for over 30 years, and that's what prompted this first conversation. Thanks to our chair, Councilmember Vang, on this. Unilaterally, the city and the county agree that the board should hire and recruit or review the executive director, and that conversation prompted the focus on my previous conversation. How do we break down the silos of government? Our community college system taken millions of dollars for workforce development, yet they're not part of our governing body for workforce development. Our labor partners in the apprenticeship programs, in the building trades, and they also do the same level of work, yet they're not part of this governing structure. And even our business partners here who have been wanting to recruit people to come to our city want to be engaged in this conversation of workforce development. SETA is unique in that it is not only our workforce development agency, but it's also our Head Start agency on the child care side, which is the largest piece. However, the city, in its best interest, and why this is important, is we really focus on the workforce development side. And we believe that this will enable our city to be more effective on workforce development. And most other cities, WIBs, have this business, labor, and local government board to make decisions. And this, I think, helps us give us more input to move forward. This is only the starting point. It allows us to begin the conversation with our county partners on how to move and look at SETA for the next 30 years. And with that, I guess if you don't mind, Vice Mayor, I'll take this opportunity to move the consent calendar.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Guerra and a second by Talamontes. Councilmember Vang.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think Councilmember Guerra said most of it. First, I just do want to thank Mike Jasso and Denise Melvelli for assisting us to get us to this moment. I think it's been in the works for a while, and as Councilmember Guerra mentioned, SETA's governance model hasn't really been looked at for the past 30 years. And SETA is the leading agency in this region that's responsible for economic development and mobility for so many low-income residents. And we have to do things differently. It's so important to make sure that we have diverse voices, ensuring that we have representation from labor, business, and our community colleges. They do critical work with early childhood development, our apprenticeship programs. And so, yes, as chair of SETA, I think it's time to do things differently. I mean, many folks have come to me and shared me, what is it that SETA does, right? And we do a lot of incredible, great work, but there are some changes that need to be made, and I think this is a right step forward. The other piece is around the JPA hiring authority. As many of you know, we sit on many JPAs, and the majority, I would say most of those JPAs, the board has the hiring and firing authority of that executive director. SETA is probably the only agency that does not at this very moment, so the hiring falls on our city manager and his equivalent on the county end. I think it's really important for the board, which makes the ultimate decision on budget and finance, to have the ultimate say on hiring the executive director. And so these are various good governance amendments that is needed for SETA in order for it to have good outcomes for our region. So looking forward to moving this item forward and beginning the conversation with the county.
And if I could just add as a note, SETA will be before this body on September the 24th as a discussion item for the presentation of their budget, and it's an opportunity for this body to also be introduced a little bit more personally to their new executive director, Anita Maldonado.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may just chime in really quick, I just really want to give a thanks to Councilmember Vang and Councilmember Guerra for being our representatives on the SETA board and for all the work that you're doing. I know sometimes this is, not the most exciting part of government, looking at code changes and cleanup and and how we are structuring these systems, and especially when they haven't been updated in so long. But it's really, really important work. And so thank you for your work on it.
Thank you. I mean, I have no more questions. I just found that really helpful because it's not like I get to hear your thought process and thinking, and this is the one time that we can all get together. So I'm good with that. And then just the last item on consent, item 25.
Quickly before you
Yes.
move on, Councilmember Jennings, did you have comments on item 15?
Just on the SETA item, I too wanted to thank Councilmember Vang and Guerra, because with new leadership at SETA, it's more important now more than ever to start taking a look at the bylaws and all the different articles of incorporation and all the different ways that they govern themselves. Look at those things in an effort to make sure that they're done in the proper order at the proper time in this day and age, not in 1880. So I just want to thank them for stepping up to the charge of updating those ordinances and those laws and those practices. So good job.
Well said. All right. And lastly, Councilmember Kaplan on item 25.
Yep. And thank you, everyone, for that. I do appreciate it. On item 25, I just want to follow up and thank Kevin Collin and his team. This one specifically is adding in the amendments for the home occupation permits. This shows that when people come up and talk about things and we as a council look at it, how having amazing staff can move things very quickly. And then I just know that you're looking at potential amendments on how many vehicles could be at the home at the same time, and that'll come back to council. But that was the one item that was left on this that the individual had questions, and I just want to thank staff. I got no comments, but I think it's good to call out that this is good governance and our staff doing an amazing job of really responding to today's day and age of how can we do things differently. So I just want to say thank you with that.
Excellent. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, any opposed, abstain? Passes unanimously. All right, we're moving on to our public hearings. Yes, Madam City Clerk.
Good afternoon. We have a full chambers today. If you are here to make a comment on any item, you'll need to fill out a speaker slip prior to the start of that item. They're located in the back window there, and you'll turn them into the assistant clerk down here, and you can also see the assistant clerk if you have any questions. Once we start an item, we will not accept any additional slips, and speakers will be given 2 minutes, and you'll see the timer on the screen behind me allowing you your time to speak.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, so first up, we have item 30, our citywide landscaping and lighting assessment district 2024-25 annual proceedings. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Vice Mayor Maple and council members. Eric Frederick with the Finance Department. The item before you is the annual public hearing for the citywide landscaping and lighting assessment district. Annual assessments are levied in this district to finance the maintenance of city parks and other public landscaped areas, street tree maintenance, graffiti abatement, and the energy and maintenance costs of street lights throughout the city. Staff's recommendation is to conduct the public hearing and upon conclusion, adopt the resolution before you that will confirm the budget and levy the assessments for fiscal year 2024-25. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, ma'am.
All right, seeing none, moving on to our council colleagues. Councilman Vergara.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. One, this may be of interest for all of our colleagues here who have parkways or green spaces or easements that are maintained through the city landscape assessment. One, I'd like to get staff to talk back to speak with our staff on how we're managing the challenges with the cost that it takes to maintain them. On T Street and both 21st Avenue, I've noticed more and more both the watering conflicts, and I know we've reduced our maintenance down to once a month, and now we've increased it to twice a month. But still, I worry about the management of those open spaces that are funded through the lighting assessment district. So I'll go ahead and move, and we'll close the public hearing and move the open and close the public hearing and move the item, Vice Mayor. But I would like to put some direction to the city manager that the staff come back and meet with my team about how we're best managing the maintenance of those large spaces. 21st Avenue is 15 acres. 15 acres of an area that's probably the only open space for that community that is around 21st Avenue. So I want to make sure that that's well maintained. So.
All right, thank you. Other comments or questions from council members? We've got a motion by Councilmember Valenzuela. All right, seeing no further comment. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Member Kaplan? Aye. Member Tao? Aye. Member Talamantes? Aye. Member Valenzuela?
Yes.
Member Guerra? Aye. Member Jennings?
Yes.
Member Vang?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Maple?
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to item number 31, our fiscal year 24-25 Business Improvement Area Annual Proceedings. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and members of the City Council. I am Suzanne Tan with the Finance Department. The item before you is the annual proceedings for the city's business improvement areas, or BIAs. As required, each of the BIAs has prepared and submitted an annual report for the upcoming fiscal year. The annual reports specify the expenditures for the various programs, the assessment rates, and the types of programs the assessments will be used for. There are no changes to the BIA boundaries or the method levying the assessments. And with that, that concludes my overview of the item. Staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Okay, open and close and moved. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No, ma'am.
All right. We have a second by Councilmember Kaplan. Do we have any other comments or questions from council members? All right, I'll do a call vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstain. Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. So we are moving on to item number 32, our third-party appeal of contemporary commons. Welcome.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Zach Dahl, Associate Planner with the Community Development Department. The item before you today is the third-party appeal of the Planning and Design Commission's decision to approve the tentative map associated with the Contemporary Commons project, also known as Z22-079. The proposed project is located at 707 Commons Drive within the office business low-rise mixed-use zone and Campus Commons planned unit development. The applicant proposes to demolish an existing office building and remove all on-site trees, including 10 private protected trees, to facilitate the construction of a 24-unit condominium development. At the November 6, 2023 special director hearing, the zoning administrator and design director heard and approved the proposed project, including a tentative map to subdivide the project site for condominium purposes, site plan and design review of the tentative map layout, demolition of the existing building, and construction of the development with a deviation for rear yard setbacks, and finally a tree permit for the removal of 10 private protected trees. Third-party appeals of the approvals were subsequently filed, and on January 11th, the Planning and Design Commission considered the appeal and approved the Class 32 infill development CEQA categorical exemption, the tentative map, site plan and design review, and tree permit, thereby denying the third-party appellant's appeal of the zoning administrator and design director's decision. The third-party appellant has now appealed the Planning and Design Commission's approval to the City Council. Pursuant to City Code, the Planning and Design Commission's decision on the site plan and design review and tree permit entitlements are considered final and not appealable. However, state law allows for the tentative map to be appealed up to City Council. So City Council's review of the appeal is limited to the tentative map and the CEQA exemption. In general, if the council decides to deny the tentative map, thereby granting the third-party appeal, the proposed development would still be allowed to move forward as a for-rent product type, given the project design and layout was approved under the site plan and design review entitlement. If the council decides to approve the tentative map, thereby denying the third-party appeal, the proposed development would be allowed to move forward as a for-sale product type. Staff's recommendation to approve the project has not changed based on the issues raised by the appellant. Based on staff's analysis of the appeal, staff recommends the City Council deny the appeal, thereby approving the project. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, how we will move forward here is we'll hear, I'll open the hearing. We will hear first from the applicant, then we'll hear from the appellant, and then we'll hear public comment, and then move on to a rebuttal after that if needed, and then to our council comments. So just so everybody knows what to expect here. So now I am opening the public hearing. And if the applicant would please step forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and council members. My name is Catherine Bardis-Mary, and I am here today on behalf of the applicant. I will keep this very concise. While you might hear a number of concerns from the appellant today, I would like to point out and remind everyone that the only item in question is the tentative map related to this project. All other aspects of the project have received final approval back in January with the Planning Commission. So before us today is only the question of if this community can be a for-sale community or for rent. We're proposing to take an existing perpetually vacant office building and transform the site to a market rate for sale community, which is compatible to the adjacent for sale neighborhoods. We feel that home ownership is extremely important and one of the best ways for individuals to build generational wealth and equity. There is a lack of housing supply in the Sacramento region that has contributed to a very competitive and high-priced market. One of the best ways, if not one of the only ways, to combat this is to bring more housing to the market. At the end of the day, we look forward to bringing a thriving residential community to the area and adding additional public safety, surveillance, neighborhood vitality, and creating a greater sense of ownership within Campus Commons. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I'll be here the rest of the afternoon as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we might have questions later, so
I'm
I'm going to
sure.
call you back up. Okay. Is the appellant present? Yes. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I am Carr Kunze. I am a resident of Campus Commons, and I am here to ask the council for two things. One, reject the tentative map and change the site plan, specifically the setback distances from the structures to the street. Improved setbacks will provide consistency with the existing residential and office areas and adequate space for planned trees to reach their mature size. Secondly, rescind the CEQA exemption and permit reconsideration of the historic preservation decision regarding the existing 707 office building. This process would respect the previous two studies and require an independent peer review study for the building. It would also include a hearing before the Preservation Commission. The preservation decision was tainted and flawed. First, a brief introduction. As appellant, I represent not only myself, but well over 200 concerned residents in my community. There have been over 400 emails submitted by neighbors who reject the development as currently planned. I have spent my career in affordable housing development and finance. We need substantially more housing, particularly moderately priced housing, as well as low-income housing. However, this development proposal makes no meaningful contribution to affordability. Recent studies clearly show filtering or trickle-down will not occur as a consequence of this type of development for many, many 20 or more years, if ever. This project was represented at the director's hearing as entry-level housing, since it was multifamily. This is like suggesting that a $4 million townhouse in San Francisco's Presidio Heights is entry-level housing. It's absurd. We argue that de novo matters presented here are related to and led to improper CEQA and tentative map determinations. There are issues of general plan consistency, the site plan, and actions by the staff and developer that led to an improper process of approval by staff in the director's hearing. The staff has presented some of the findings there for consistency with the general plan. They have not presented the several other policies that the proposal is inconsistent with the general plan. In terms of CEQA and historic preservation, the director's hearing had no discussion of preservation, and we were denied an appeal as such. While we attempted to present this to the Planning and Design Commission hearing, there was no consideration of the matter, and they did not address it in their actions. We were denied an opportunity to appeal to the Preservation Commission. Thus, our historic preservation appeal was denied administrative due process. In its preservation review, staff regarded findings by the developer's consultant of the potential for a preservation district. Staff then went on to denigrate the findings of our consultant. The staff report clearly abridged and distorted the NPS guidelines. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get to the video piece that's in your packet. And the potential role of this building as a nexus for such a district. Let us be clear. A change from office to residential is a change in land use. While such a change is permissible in an OB zone, any such change must also be consistent with the PUD's plans and standards. Changes to the PUD land uses requires the City Council's approval by special permit. Our research shows that this has been the practice in all prior improvements and changes to a PUD. The City Council's responsibility to review for consistency with the Campus Commons PUD is set forth in Title 17 regarding legislative changes required in PUDs and regarding primacy of the PUD in any zoning ordinance conflict with the PUD. The Housing Accountability Act notwithstanding, a staff-level ministerial decision about land use cannot be made in a PUD if the decision conflicts with the PUD. The staff would be usurping the City Council's authority. In terms of the tentative map, the developer provided false information regarding existing setbacks. You'll hear about that. This allowed staff to rule in the director's hearing that the design setbacks were justified. Staff ignored Campus Commons' PUD standards and practices, seeking to replace these with citywide PUD standards. Again, this usurps the City Council's responsibilities. The 1965 schematic plan and the 1969 resolution of designation provide unit count and density standards, as well as a graphic representation for setbacks and land uses which can be examined together with existing development patterns throughout the Campus Commons office and residential PUD that the staff lost, misplaced, and these and possibly other related documents is an inadequate excuse for substituting other so-called current standards, particularly without the council's consideration. In conclusion, I ask, why did Callister, a renowned architect of the area, have the 707 building intrude into the residential area where he could have kept it within the commercial area? He wanted to create a new vision for Sacramento, a city within the city, based upon Garden City principles, one that links the living and working communities and emphasizes this link with the highest sculpted mound in the community on which it sits. It's an acropolis, if you will, with extensive setbacks, landscaping, and tree coverage. It would be a shame to lose this unique redwood-clad building with a magnificent pergola acting as a nexus between the two areas of the greater PUD. Thank you for your attention to this request for, again, the secret preservation review, a process that we asked, a process that enables our appeal and respects the studies that we have undertaken, but with an independent peer review study, and a hearing before the Preservation Commission, and leading perhaps and hopefully to a finding before you. And secondly, setbacks that are consistent with the setbacks throughout Campus Commons, residential and office areas, and large enough to preserve the private protected trees and their vital canopy. The planting strips should be wide enough to assure proper growth and sustainable canopy, and I thank you so very much.
Thank you. Okay, so want to give an opportunity, actually first, Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do. We have 16 speakers. I will call you
Excellent.
down, and if you want to line up here in the center, first will be Gary Slavitt, followed by Joan Barrett, and then Peter Klein.
Welcome. Whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and City Council members. My name is Gary Slavitt, and I'm a resident of Campus Commons. First, I want to state that I agree with the points that were addressed in the appeal and everything that Mr. Kunze has said. Obviously, the first choice for us for the structure at 707 Commons Drive, which has blended in with and been part of the Campus Commons community since pretty much the beginning, our choice would, of course, for that to remain. But I realize that that's probably not realistic. I am not opposed to development of the site, right? Just as the way it has been approved. I believe we could reach a mutually acceptable consensus and compromise with the developers with respect to the concerns that we have stated throughout our appeals. I know that the trees have been an issue, and I do want to say that I believe the permit to remove the trees is very inconsistent. In Campus Commons, we have a number of trees that have been problematic to homeowners that don't qualify for a removal permit because they're healthy trees. Some of the trees probably shouldn't have even been planted there in the first place. In terms of tree removal, why is Community Commons project not being held to the same scrutiny, the same standards, rigor, and criteria that we are? I ask that the City Council do what the Planning Commission and the City Planning staff has not, and that is seriously consider and address our concerns. During the discussions at the appeal, some of the Planning Commissioner's rationale for their decision was based on incorrect facts and incorrect assumptions. If this development is to go forward, I ask you to seriously consider and address our concerns, things such as density, setbacks, safety, aesthetics, and consistency, and the other issues such as the 72 refuse cans on the street once a week. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joan Barrett, followed by Peter Klein, and then Geraldine Gelfand.
Thank you. My name is Joan Barrett. I live in Campus Commons. And here we are, the annoying old people again. We get that we are a thorn in your side, and we also understand we're not stupid. You need to understand we're not stupid. We see the hugs and the camaraderie between the planners and the developers. We know basically we're kind of screwed here, and this is this quest to help the neighborhood. We couldn't not show up and try to get you to understand. In a prior hearing, one of the young commissioners admonished us by saying we should welcome our neighbors. And I would like you to consider for a moment that you have a very nice yard. You pay people to keep your trees healthy and your grass pristine, and you have some new neighbors move in. And those people are lovely, but they built right to the edges of their property. So they don't have any shady trees. They don't have any grassy knolls. So their dogs are going to walk on your property. Their kids are going to play in your playground. And if they get hurt, we don't know who the responsibility lies with, but we can imagine. And all this stuff that you've paid to keep pristine is now not quite so pristine. There's definitely an impact. I'd just like you to imagine that. That's how we feel about our property. We spend a lot of money maintaining it, and we do see a threat. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Peter Klein, followed by Geraldine Gelfand, and then Judith Jones.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, councilpersons, and commissioners. I also, as you might surmise, am here to speak against the resolutions as they are, but I'd also like to offer a partial solution for your consideration. Just to bring me up to speed, I'm sure you don't need it, we have multiple multi-agency cross-purpose conflicts here. We have trees, we have waste removal, we have traffic congestion, we have architectural concerns. Recently, I hear in the news that there is another development at the old Rusty Duck area, which asks for something that I'm going to suggest. And that is, the resolution before you has 4 points as I see them. The first point is to waive the CEQA and to give an exemption for that. I'm not sure what the exemption's purpose serves, but it would certainly clear a lot of water to have that done. It would entail, I imagine, consideration of the things that we are concerned about. The air conditions, the traffic conditions, the safety conditions. And so I would ask of you to consider a motion to remove number 1 from your resolution, set it aside, and defeat it. The exemption is not grantable in my lay view based on an interpretation that I've recently read from the state of California, the author of your dilemma, apparently, that affordable housing should be created.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete.
Thank you for your patience.
Geraldine Gelfand, followed by Judith Jones, and then Howard Levine.
Good afternoon. Many valid concerns have been brought to you and determinations were made. However, there are some practical issues that have not been adequately addressed. In today's world, it's becoming more and more important to consider our impact on the environment. Part of the plan to lessen that impact has been to require households to separate their trash into 3 containers. That means that these 25 residences will have as many as 75 containers. For reference, a city block is considered to be 264 feet in length. The requirement for space between bins is 3 feet, and if a bin is approximately 2 feet wide, that means 5 feet per bin is needed, for a total of approximately 375 feet. So we're talking about a block and a half. And some of the residences will be about a block from Commons Drive, for a total of possibly 2 blocks to get the bins to where they need to be for pickup. An able-bodied person may be able to move 2 cans at a time. That means it will require at least 2 trips to get those bins to where they need to be for pickup. Chances are the outcome will be that residents, able-bodied or not, will just dump everything into 1 bin. California aims to drastically reduce methane emissions by implementing SB 1383. This legislation targets various sectors, including waste management, agriculture, and transportation. The goal is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2045, cutting greenhouse gas emissions by 85% and fossil fuel consumption by 94%. The obstacles this project is creating will certainly go against what the city is trying to do to lessen environmental impact. This is something that can affect each and every one of us. It is our responsibility to be aware of our environment and do what we can to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you. Judith Jones, followed by Howard Levine and David Lane.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. I'm a resident of the area as well. Congresswoman Doris Matsui recently helped Sacramento secure $2 million in federal funding in order to expand the city of Sacramento's tree canopies. The Sacramento Urban Forest Plan has a goal of expanding the tree canopies. By 2045, the plan aims to increase the citywide tree canopy from 19% to 35%. Achieving this will require planting and maintaining an additional 25,000 trees annually. Nowhere does it recommend removing existing tree canopies. The 707's Common Drive site is the epitome of an existing great tree canopy, and yet it is scheduled to be converted to a concrete lot with no tree canopy and no space for one to be developed. This is another example of one department undermining the work of another, and both examples will have a negative impact on our environment. Isn't it your responsibility to consider the greater consequences of your actions? These may seem like minor issues, but they will have long-term repercussions and deserve to not be ignored. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Howard Levine, followed by David Lane, and then Kathleen Steik.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm Howard Levine, former mayor of Grass Valley and a planning commissioner and historic preservation advocate. I've done a number of historic preservation zones myself. In the process of this application, we have learned so much about Campus Commons and the sense of place that's created here. We have 4 studies that have been done about Campus Commons that all provide the opportunity for it to be created as a historical opportunity for the city of Sacramento. I urge the council to take the SWCA studies, the staff study from Planning Commission, the staff study from this particular hearing that recommend the opportunity for this to be a historic preservation area from Fair Oaks, Howe Avenue, along the American River to become another primary area of interest for the city of Sacramento. This is an opportunity. This is your opportunity to show the community and to show the greater development world what a place that was planned that has incredible landscaping, incredible building, incredible interconnection between office and business and housing can be, how it can be demonstrated. And I urge you to look into this from this point forward. And I will yield to my council member.
Thank you. David Lane, followed by Kathleen Steik and Melissa Marcus.
Good afternoon. I'm also a resident of Campus Commons, and I strongly object to what the staff has done in this case because they have omitted a major portion of this. I've talked to Zach multiple times and about this. I've sent emails. There's an email that I put out that's before you today that the staff didn't put in the campus. I invite you to read that. And I also invite you to read page 422, the email when I brought this up to them on May 10th, 2023. Specifically, this property, this project as proposed is in violation of your ordinances. As I set forth, and Zach has told me, well, that's a multi-planning development. It is a multi-unit dwelling unit. However, it does not comply, this project, with the specific code requirements. I invite you, I've copied that in the email that I've handed out to you. This multi-dwelling unit requires certain things as set forth. They are mandatory. And they are set forth, and shows forth that it is a rental unit, not a residential unit that is owned. If you do not approve this appeal, you are in violation of your own codes. And I have tried multiple times to get staff to explain to me how there's an exception, and I get zipped. There's no response to it at all. This proposal will violate your codes. If you approve it, I urge that you accept the appeal and adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Steik, followed by Melissa Marcus and John Benioski.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Stice, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I am in strong support of the appeal filed by Carr Kunze and support the information that he provided. I'd like to provide a little bit more detail. First, I also want to let you know that I've been a resident of Campus Commons for 13 years. With respect to the setback, that is one of the issues and is part of the map. The developer stated in previous hearings that they've increased the setbacks from almost nothing to 15 feet. That was an improvement, but it's also misleading. The back corner of one unit is set back 15 feet. The setback for the fronts of the other units range from 8 to 11 feet for the 12 units that front Campus Commons Road and Commons Drive. In contrast, the setback for the existing homes in the immediate area around that is 25 to 30 feet. That's a clear difference in the neighborhood atmosphere. Also, with respect to the trees and the environmental impact, if you look at the schematic drawings, show a number of trees on there. However, if you look closer at that, the density of the housing really leaves inadequate space for for trees to have adequate space to grow and to the size comparable to what is being torn down or to the size of the surrounding neighborhood. This will decrease the tree canopy. Considering these issues, I would support reconfiguring the plan to align with the neighborhood's established character and environmental standards, specifically reducing the number of units, which really addresses the issue that there would be more space for trees and there would be a greater setback for the compatibility with the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa Marcus, followed by John Vignoki and Mary Ann Robinson.
Welcome. My name is Melissa Marcus, and I'm here to represent Preservation Sacramento's Board of Directors and members. I'm the secretary of Preservation Sacramento organization. And Preservation Sacramento, if you're not familiar with it, is dedicated to protecting Sacramento's historic places and encouraging quality urban design through advocacy, outreach, and activism. Last week, a letter was sent from our president electronically through the e-comment system, and I have been asked to just read that letter into the record. Dear Mr. Dalla, the Board of Directors of Preservation Sacramento wishes to express our support for the appeal of 707 Commons Z22079 by residents of the Campus Commons community. Materials supplied by the appellants present a convincing argument that the 707 Commons building is eligible for listing in the Sacramento Register as an individual landmark and also a component of a potential Campus Commons historic district. The required destruction of trees are a significant impact of the project from a sustainability environmental perspective and part of the historic landscape design of Campus Commons. The proposed removal of the elevated berm to a lower level, exposing the subsequent project to higher flood risk, is also a significant impact. Because of all these factors, this project must receive a higher level of environmental review, such as an environmental impact report. And that's the summary of the letter that we submitted. Thank you.
John Vignoski, followed by Mary Ann Robinson, and then Mary Termraz.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor Maple, City Manager Chan, and members of the council and staff. I'm here because I love housing and I love Sacramento. We're the best place to live in California because we're the most pro-housing, among many other reasons, but that's a big one. Last week, I was pleased to see many of you receive the House Sacramento's Good Neighbor Award. It's my understanding that award was bestowed for your great work updating our general plan and zoning codes, which is important work, but those land use regulations are mostly a theoretical exercise. It doesn't guarantee that housing gets built. What matters is what happens in practice. Here we are in practice evaluating a project that is consistent and meets all of the zoning and general plan guidelines. When advancing a project, developers always enjoy engaging with the community, working with neighbors, sharing the vision, and getting feedback. However, sometimes a chasm emerges that cannot be crossed for various reasons, usually for reasons consistent with human nature. Humans are generally opposed to change, and that is why we are here today. This project increases the city's housing supply, which benefits every future homeowner, and I vehemently disagree with the appellant's claim. We need housing of all types, affordable and market rate. If we don't build market rate housing, we will have people with higher incomes living in naturally occurring affordable housing. This project increases the city's property tax revenue by converting an old office building into much-needed housing, and I strongly urge you to vote in favor of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Ann Robinson, followed by Mary Tamraz, and then Marilyn Bueller.
Good afternoon. Mary Ann Robinson. I am a longtime homeowner in Campus Commons. I support the appeal. Please understand, we do recognize the pressure for new housing. What we do not accept is this developer's insistence on building housing on their own terms, with little respect for the standards that are set by city code, the general plan, and the urban forest plan. The developers have also largely dismissed the long-standing and self-evident design standards for the planned unit development in which the property is embedded, including the required neighborhood transition, open spaces and streetscapes, setbacks, and the essential tree canopy. A variety of housing developments could be mapped to this site that would respond to neighborhood context. City officials have claimed that their hands are tied by a mandate for housing. Okay, but I do not believe that mandate says to build at all costs, eliminate tree canopy, and ignore existing standards. I hope our city council members see a bigger picture and will ground their decision in neighborhood context, the preservation of our urban forest, and in the project's violations of city and PUD standards. Appropriate design changes are top priority, but I would also like to see my city officials serving not just the developers, but the entire communities that elect them. There is widespread disappointment with what we see as the failure of city officials to represent those of us who bought homes in this intentionally designed community in the belief that codes and standards would continue to apply to our investments. Thank you.
Mary Tamraz, followed by Marilyn Bueller, and then Janet Bueller.
Welcome.
My name is Mary Tamraz, and I speak on behalf of the beautiful redwoods of this city who stand tall yet have no voice. And as council members, you are representing your constituents in your neighborhoods, trying to keep the health and well-being of your residents in your neighborhoods. We also are doing that. We're advocating for the city of Sacramento's urban forest plan, which appears to be useful for all of us, as long as we don't allow developers to cut down mature trees and especially ancient redwoods. It might surprise you to know that in 1971, the Sacramento City Planning Commission requested Campus Commons planned unit development be amended to create functional landscaping along the west side of Fair Oaks Boulevard. That was quite a while ago, but at that time, we also were cooperating with the city. Thus, the Fair Oaks Boulevard you see today from Howe Avenue to the H Street Bridge has 50-foot setbacks to allow for mounded lawns and areas with trees. This important entryway into downtown Sacramento and CSUS is now lined with beautiful redwoods. Similar treatment of Campus Commons Road would enhance any new construction project, honoring the neighborhood, and possibly gain the support of our community. We're not trying to be dissenters, but we need to be engaged also in our own.
Ma'am, your time is complete.
Okay, so I will just say one last thing. Please endorse the appeal and revoke the appeal.
Ma'am, your time is complete. Our next speaker is Marilyn Bueller, followed by Janet Bueller, and then Sally Mastros.
For over 25 years, I have lived and owned in Campus Commons. I support today's appeal. The tentative map and the associated site plan require revisions to create greater setbacks from the street. With greater setbacks, the new canopy-sized trees will be able to grow to full maturity and support the city's urban forestry goals. In the current plan, the street-facing trees are so close to the structures and concrete, these trees will need to be removed before they reach maturity. I ask that the city rejects the tentative map to allow for greater setbacks. This will allow these trees to reach their full intended canopy size and provide shade. Otherwise, this site will become a heat island and fail to support the city's goals to increase the overall tree canopy. To accommodate the project's driveway, the plan removes nearly 40 feet of the city's owned landscape strip. When we asked the city to relocate this portion of the landscape strip for the neighborhood to enjoy, we were told that the city doesn't like to ask the developers to modify their designs. It feels that the city fails to support the neighborhood even for the smallest requests and that are within their ability to change. I ask that the city give back the neighborhood this lost portion of landscape strip by placing it on another location of the development's street face. It has been mentioned that 707 is a long abandoned building. Please be aware that the current blighted state of the property is due to the developer's neglect of the exterior landscape. Both last summer and this summer, the developer failed to water and maintain the private protected trees as required by city ordinance and as requested by urban forestry. It is truly a shame that the city is unwilling to save the 90-inch circumference redwood tree that is the largest of its type, one of the largest of its type in the city.
Thank you. Your time is
Thank you.
complete. Janet Bueller, followed by Sally Maestros, and she is our final speaker.
Welcome. I have something for the overhead.
Okay, just put it on that gray tablet right in front of you, and we'll bring that up in just a second. Thank you.
You can start. Oh, okay. Here, let me move it over. As a 26-year homeowner in Campus Commons, I support today's appeal. The city can still achieve its objective of more housing with a revised tentative map and site plan. The street side setbacks in the existing neighborhood are far greater than this infill project provides. The city's general plan requires new development to respect neighborhood characteristics, buildings, streetscapes, and open spaces. This is not occurring. The new towering and massive three-story structures so close to the street will appear looming to the surrounding neighborhood. This impact can be mitigated through greater setbacks. The planning entitlement application, which is displayed on the overhead, asks for the front setbacks of the nearest adjacent buildings. The application states that 803 Commons is one of the nearest buildings with a setback of only 5 feet. However, 803 Commons is actually located down the block. The nearest adjacent building is 739 Commons, which has a much greater setback distance than 5 feet, as illustrated by the displayed image. Even though the city general plan standards are subjective in nature, the city based their subjective decision that the setbacks were sufficient for the surrounding neighborhood and general plan based on inaccurate information. As a result, the plans related to the setbacks should be voided and sent back for review and revision. The street side setbacks for this development are 8 to 10 feet, but with the front fences and overhanging second floor balconies and third floors, these setbacks will appear and feel much closer to the street and sidewalks. There is only one up to 15-foot setback, and it's a small area near the side and back of the property, nowhere near the street. The city should not have granted the deviation which allowed this required rear yard setback to diminish from 15 feet to 5 feet near the street. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Sally Maestros.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, City Manager, and Councilman. I think my concern is why the historical relevance of this community, Campus Commons, of which I am also an owner resident, seemed to have been downplayed in the director's meeting staff report. If the following statements were made, and they were, the developer's expert said, 707 Commons Drive does appear to be a cohesively designed and contributory component building within Campus Commons. Given Callister, that the architects, known association with master planned community design and Campus Commons identification as a notable development in Sacramento during the mid-20th century, 707 Common Drive merits evaluation as a potential district contributor to criteria 3. the community's experts said, this survey has found that the building at 707 Commons is eligible for designation as a Sacramento landmark under City Code 17.604.210, as the property is more than 50 years old. It's in fact 57 years old and meets the criteria. The preservation, Sacramento, the statement was already made, but I'll reiterate by prior speaker. Materials supplied by the appellants present a convincing argument that the 707 Commons building is eligible for listing in the Sacramento Register as an individual landmark and as a component of a potential historic district. That actually, I think, expands beyond Campus Commons. And then...
Your time is complete. Thank you for your comments.
Sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We have no other public comments on this item.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk, and thank you for everyone who came out to come and speak and to share your viewpoints. At this time, I want to give it an opportunity to the applicant for rebuttal.
Yeah, just a quick reminder that we definitely appreciate the neighbors' concern, and although they are the minority, more louder Campus Commons residents, I do want to point out that we had a number of neighborhood meetings throughout our journey as we processed the entitlements on this project. We actually started with meeting with the adjacent HOA 2 before we even purchased the project, and helped design the project in consideration of their initial comments. There are a number of HOAs within Campus Commons, and so initially we chose to reach out to the adjacent ones, thinking that ones further away weren't as passionate about our site. And of course we were wrong, but we did have a number of meetings and really did try and take into consideration what each neighbor had to say. And we had to work with a number of competing interests, right? Some neighbors want lower density, but by right, per the zoning of the site, the minimum amount of homes we can have are 18. And working with those confines, we really do think that what we have proposed and what we have already approved is a great project for the neighborhood. And just want to remind everyone that the only item at question today is the tentative map, and if it can be for sale or for rent housing, the project will proceed forward regardless. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'm going to close the public hearing and then pass it over quickly to Councilmember Kaplan for a quick comment before the district council member.
Thank you to Councilmember Valenzuela pointing out to the city attorney, but pursuant to Government Code 84308 and SB 1439, I have to recuse myself on this, and I'm going to step out of the room.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaplan. So I will now turn it over to Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. First, let me start by making an observation here that I feel no one ever likes to be in the appeal scenario, not the community, not the applicant, and I would probably wager to say neither do my colleagues to be here in this scenario. And what I've seen through this process, and particularly in this case, is that we have great Sacramentans who care deeply and a lot. In fact, the residents of Campus Commons, the homeowners, I will say, of Campus Commons, the applicant as well, all live in Sacramento and have worked or retired in Sacramento, and many of them have worked for our city. Residents of Campus Commons, and what I have felt is the sheer and true love of their neighborhood and their community, and that I think has been one evident through this process. Even though we come to a position where good Sacramentans could not agree. and get to this point. I will say, I feel very connected to this because I lived on University Avenue. And one of the first opportunities where I finally found good quality housing was on University Avenue. But for the fact that when I met my wife at Sac State, we could only afford in Tahoe Park at the time with a little 2-bedroom house that was built in the 1950s. I think we probably would have also been in Campus Commons as well. I remember those days of a unique place, and I will say to my colleagues, if you don't know Campus Commons, it has a unique history. And I think if many of our predecessors had followed some of the planning designs that Campus Commons and those who designed the PUD in the mid-1960s had taken into consideration, we probably wouldn't have a sprawled out region as we do today. They incorporated unique ideas that were very forward-thinking at the time, thinking that we maybe don't need fences between our neighbors and that we can all get to know each other better by having shared open space and having a tree canopy that allows people to walk around. When you go from the south end of my district, where there is very little to no tree canopy, to Campus Commons, I would wager there's a 5-degree difference in temperature. It is close to the river. It makes it a walkable place to the campus and other amenities. And I would probably say the worst part about that area is Howe Avenue because of the speeding and the number of vehicles. It's a beautiful place. So in this process, I can completely feel where everyone is coming through this point. And this hearing is particularly more difficult because it really has us only focus on one particular point. I think it was made over and over again by the applicant. And I do want to thank the applicants. By the way, congratulations on your new child, the birth of your new child, your new daughter. With a 2-year-old, I still can remember those early days, and I appreciate also the time taken to extend the time frame so that members of the public could participate. I will say that from a few questions from the beginning here, and that were brought up by residents and constituents here, and I think they need to be asked because while I think I know the answer, I need to ask the city attorney just on process here. One question that came up over and over again, and part of this has become from questions or maybe afterthoughts of what to add to the Planning Commission. But does the City Council have the authority to push this back to the Planning Commission for further review? And this is a question for the City Attorney here. In many cases, this is a quasi-judicial body. It's not the Superior Court, or the Appellate Court, but we are hearing an appeal in the de novo section. Does this body have the authority to send this back to Planning Commission, the entire process? Madam City Attorney.
Councilmember Guerra, it does not. The code sets forth the proceedings by which these appeals are heard, and there is no mechanism in the city code that would allow this council to send it back to the PDC.
Okay, thank you very much. So in this case, then, the decision that's made today is narrowed to the tentative parcel map. And, if there is a disagreement on the outcome, then the only avenue is the Superior Court at this point. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. And then the other question that has come about, and I think it goes to Mr. Carr. By the way, Mr. Carr, I think your presentation on an appeal is probably, and the community by far, has been one of the most organized and well-presented in appeals that we've had before. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness that everyone has taken to learn on the planning process and the challenges between state, local that we have here today. And, Mr. Carr, thank you for putting this together. But I guess the fundamental question then, that before we can even start on the question of the tentative parcel map, is, and this is a question for the city attorney and for your staff that have been reviewing the documents. I understand that our city staff have an obligation to review and provide their expert opinion and present something for the council, but for the city attorney here and or your designee, was there an improper CEQA review that occurred through this process? Is there, because this is a legal question about whether we can move forward with the exemption and consider the tentative parcel map.
Councilmember Garrett, I would like to ask Senior Deputy City Attorney Michael Sparks and Supervising Deputy City Attorney Courtney Burdick to come up here. They've been working in conjunction with staff and are able to answer that question specifically.
Okay, thank you. And for those in the public, our city manager oversees our professional planning staff, but the city attorney, a charter officer, is independent of our planning department. So in one sense, the silos of government support this situation here to be able to get an independent point of view here. So the question has come here because we have to make a decision today about was there an improper CEQA review? And there was a lot of information posted today during the public hearing. So the question before the staff, the deputy city attorney staff here, given the testimony today, has there been an improper CEQA review?
No, CEQA review occurred. The project is exempt under 15332 infill exemption. Our environmental planning staff goes through each project, goes through each requirement of the exemption and confirms that the project complies with each point in the exemption. And I don't know if Tom Buford wants to come up and talk about their process. But yes, we don't see any infirmity.
Okay. Well, I don't need a long, presentation about the process unless your staff in this conversation identifies that there was fault in the process. I would welcome that from the city attorney if that happens during this conversation. The second question really that I have then here is there was a presentation that the OB zone, the PUD and OB zoning in our Title 17 zone, chapter are in conflict with each other. And that's important because we would only be here at this process if there was a conflict. And I was reading through the staff review here on item number 4 of the staff review, which is the appellant argues that the project is inconsistent with Title 17, and that's the Campus Commons PUD guidelines. And while we're reviewing the tentative parcel map, the real question becomes is, maybe I've been watching too much Law and Order, but is this like the fruit of the forbidden tree? Yeah, exactly. There you go. So we're only here because of that point. Is there a conflict, or are we inconsistent with Title 17 and the PUD?
Staff reviewed it, and staff determined that there is no inconsistency.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Sparks, for being here today. Enjoy the bow tie, by the way. I wish I could tie it myself. Well, and this, before, unless there's any other questions from my council members, a couple thoughts here that I have. Going back to my earlier point, I do think that, and having seen this, that this area is a special area and a historic area because of its history. And to that point, I do feel that, and having looked at the documentation about that particular building, and while that building, at least I'm not an architect, but I read enough of the information to make a determination here. While that building itself, in my opinion, is not a historic building, the community as a whole, I think, presents itself as a historic district. And I think it was Mr. Levine who I think eloquently pointed out, I think maybe his expertise in years on the Planning Commission and Grass Valley and mayor of Grass Valley. My condolences for your mayorship, and thank you for service, your public service. I appreciate that. And congratulations for all the years you put there, and my understanding is you may be advising them again. I do want to thank him for bringing that point up because I do think that the city needs to move forward in the process of reviewing the Campus Commons community and its historic nature as a potential historic district. I will say, though, I mean, and Mr. Muri and Ms. Bartis probably know, be careful what you wish for when you designate something historic, because I think they've done many historic projects, and at least my understanding is every time you peel the onion back or dig into something, you find a bigger challenge with a project. So I would also ask the residents to take that into consideration. But I think it warrants the fact that that it needs to be separated from the overall Arden Arcade general plan. In the general plan, we lump this entire community with the rest of the, I would say, unplanned, sprawled out area in the northern part of Fair Oaks. And this is, again, clearly unique because it is also, it's an option of ownership that isn't available in most of the city. And our biggest challenge in our region is that we've gotten to a point where we're building only exclusively 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, 3-car garage homes. That's neither affordable for a young family to enter in, or in the case of my conversation over Father's Day with my in-laws, a place where they can maintain on themselves and would like to find something that meets their needs as well, but also have the benefits of home ownership. So I do think that this moving out of this item, I would request direction to the city manager and the staff, because it's not an item that's agendized, that we have the city staff come back and look at the process of creating and start that process of creating the review of the historic district. The next pieces I think that I will say here that I was frustrated with, and I think this is one where we can get address, and my understanding with our community development director that his team and our other side of the other hand of the city government, the solid waste team, the issue of the garbage cans. While this is not an issue for the decision of a tentative parcel map, it is in the sense that if this was a rent-only property, you wouldn't have the garbage can issue. We would require all of our multifamily housing units to have a shared receptacle or whatnot. So if this council decided to approve the appeal and deny the tentative parcel map, then we'd have to go into that direction if that was the outcome. So I think, my understanding now with city staff is that they're in conversations with the solid waste team, that there's an ability to figure out an adjustment in addressing this 1.5 block cans on the area. So maybe if I could ask, Mr. Pace or someone from our team to talk about what process we can take moving forward to address this issue.
Yes. So we've been in coordination with the solid waste division, and there seems to be an ability to service a portion of the cans on site. And that would occur during, we would continue to work in coordination with them. The exact number of cans is still not known, but it seems to be that a good number of the interior buildings could be serviced along that interior driveway, limiting the number of cans on the street.
Perfect. Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I almost feel that we should have answered that question at the zoning administrator level or even at the planning commission level. And maybe I'm a little frustrated with our planning commission. I served as a planning commissioner. You don't catch everything, but you see it as much as you can, and you try to design that. But that's a huge piece that's different from the overall community. That leads me to my final, I guess, point here where we are, and that's the question before us. The question before us is whether we should or should not approve the tentative parcel map. And frankly, we're limited on what we can review here on an action. And given that the community is primarily single family, or is homeowners and condominium homeowners, I don't see in this scenario how not approving the tentative parcel map blends into the community. I can make my own opinions about the design. I'm not an architect, but I feel that the design probably should have blended more towards the community. But as I understand, if you try to match something from the 1950s, then it comes out looking like downtown Disney, where it looks fake. It doesn't really blend in. So I'll leave the questions of the overall, the design to the architects. But I do think that on the point of ensuring that we have other smaller home ownership options, that the decision here should be to deny the appeal and approve the project in a for sale option. So with that, Madam Vice Mayor, unless there are other comments, I'll make a motion to the city, to the council here, to deny, to reject the appeal and to approve the staff report for the project with the direction of, and Madam City Attorney, let me know if I'm getting too far here, but with the direction that staff begin the process of creating a historic district for the Campus Commons community, the review and process of review of the Campus Commons community, and also for our solid waste and a community development team to address the issue of the garbage cans. So I'm not seeing a no there, so I'll leave that motion as it stands. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
All right, is the motion clear? Okay, sorry, I was, excellent, okay. Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Valenzuela.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for fighting for trees. I just want to express my shared frustration, something when I ran for office that some rule changes really kept a lot from coming to the council. And while I appreciate that they wanted to keep the politics out of it and focus on the policy, I do think there should probably be more guardrails in place to ensure the council can intervene when decisions are made at the lower levels that we might not agree with. I don't like seeing this many trees cut down, especially full-grown mature trees. I think that's just, it's a travesty. But all of that said, we have the law as it is in front of us. So I'll second the motion and just want to thank you all for taking the time to fight for the trees. A very Lorax moment I'm having up here. But I know there was more that you all were concerned about, but I just appreciated that point. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments from council members? Okay, and I also,
no,
Councilmember Garrett.
No, I wanted to also hit that point up again. I think that, we need to figure out better ways of addressing our tree issue. I think the point that was made by one of our, I think it was Mary might have brought it up, that we, in order to make meet our goal, we've got to really hit harder on not only planting more trees, but maintaining the health of our current trees, which is my earlier point on the landscaping district. I worry about 21st Avenue and the watering piece of that. So, but thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Valenzuela. Yes.
Thank you. And I just really also want to appreciate everyone who came here today to share your viewpoint, to participate in the process, and really thankful, Councilmember Guerra, for helping walk us through with staff and the city attorney on, what the key questions are, what's legal, what the process is. I think that's one of the challenges always with this is when it's a little bit complicated about what we're actually deciding on. And so I just appreciate that to keep the question clear in our minds. And so we're thankful for that. And so with that, Madam City Clerk, we call the roll.
Councilmember Kaplan is recused. Member Tao? Member Talamantes? Aye. Member Valenzuela?
Yes.
Member Guerra? Aye. Member Jennings?
Yes.
Member Vang?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Maple?
Aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. And now we move on to the discussion calendar, item 33, ordinance amending section 3.56.070 relating to janitorial and security guard services contracts. Maybe we'll just take just a moment to let people file out.
Absolutely.
For the record.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I have my phone.
So I'll move it. You don't want to speak. That way we
All right,
don't
just
speak.
just another moment. Looks like we just got a better video out. Thank you for your patience. All right, with that, you can please begin. Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Diana Reyes-Zanaska, and I'm the procurement manager. And here with me today.
I'm Ashley Petrali. I'm the program manager for procurement.
And on May 14, 2024, Council directed staff to return with an analysis of the following changes to procurement code for janitorial and security contracts. Those changes or those analysis was to apply requirements of California Labor Code Section 238.5, subsection C and D concerning wage theft, disclosure, and liability, requiring contractors to provide a sworn affidavit assuring that the city will not be subject to joint and several liability for unpaid wages, applying prevailing wage versus the current janitorial or the current living wage, and vacation seniority transfer if city changes contractors. The California Labor Code 238.5 subsection C and D requirement limits the city to only contracting with janitorial and security service providers with a collective bargaining agreement with their employees, for example, a union shop. This is because only contractors with a collective bargaining agreement with its employees can truthfully make the assurance that the city will not be held jointly or severally liable for unpaid wages. Additionally, the collective bargaining agreement must also contain provisions regarding joint and several liability for unpaid wages, which may not be present in all collective bargaining agreements. In effect, adding this language limits the vendor pool by janitorial and security contractors to union shops with this specific provision in their collective bargaining agreement.
The application of the requirements of this labor code will also impact the city's vendor pool. Under janitorial services, we expect a 50% reduction in the vendor pool based on our past requests for proposals. And our current provider, Lincoln, is not represented by a union and would be ineligible to bid. They also employ veterans and adults with disabilities. While many unionized contractors may be small and/or women-owned, most do not meet our local business enterprise requirement for non-professional service agreements over $250,000. Under security, most of the security contracts in the Sacramento region employ both union and non-union security guards, but currently non-union security guards are used on all city security contracts. While some of our contractors may be able to staff future contracts with unionized guards, our emergency contract cannot and would require police officers to fulfill emergency requests. There are also additional impacts to both the workers on these contracts as well as financial impacts to the city for council to consider. Impacts to the workers include this provides for participation in the collective bargaining process. It also, the application of this labor code also allows employees to maintain vacation seniority as part of the collective bargaining agreement. However, this could also be obtained with council direction in future bid solicitations. Probably the most impactful or heavily felt impact on the workers is the monthly dues for unions, and that is $90 a month. For workers that work full-time, this equates to about 3% of their pay. Many workers are not working full-time, and therefore the percentage would be higher because their monthly wages are lower. For financial impacts to the city, we estimate about a 7% increase in the cost of services due to competition limitation. At current service levels, this equates to about $500,000 to $650,000 annually. Additionally, the use of police officers for emergency security services would be about 300 to 400% more expensive than our current rates for emergency services. And this would require either overtime pay for police officers or to remove officers from their current posts and assignments to staff these emergency situations.
For the prevailing wage versus living wage, council directed staff to evaluate the impact of switching from living wage to California Public Utility Code prevailing wage for janitors. The current CPUC prevailing wage plus benefits ranges between $16.88 an hour to $24.22, depending on the benefit contributions, with a one-year waiting period for benefits for their lowest tier of contributions and 2.5 years for their top tier for health. This is significantly lower than the current City of Sacramento janitorial living wage, of $25.97 loaded with the health benefits with no waiting period. Staff is recommending the city continue utilizing its living wage ordinance to ensure current employees are not subject to wage reduction. And also, I'd like to point out that the living wage salary and benefit amounts are both increased annually per the CPI. The vacation entitlement seniority. Adding the requirement for unionized contractors would allow employees to maintain vacation entitlement seniority as part of their bargaining agreement. If council does not want to adopt the unionized contractor requirement, but wants vacation seniority to transfer, staff can explore the possibility of including a vacation entitlement seniority carryover, and we can work with our city attorney office to determine whether it's just adding a living wage to say they get 3-week vacation would be the top tier. So we could discuss that. The next steps. The item before you includes an ordinance amendment requiring that janitorial and security contracts only utilize unionized contractors that have joint and several liability provisions in their collective bargaining agreement. This is a policy decision for council. Staff is recommending the city continue with the living wage ordinance and not switching to prevailing wage. Questions and discussions?
I thank you very much for the presentation. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. We have 8 speakers.
Excellent.
The first is Andrew Gation, followed by Brandy Boyd, and then Lenar Chihuahua.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Sorry I wasn't able to join last time we had this discussion, but I'm happy to be able to be here in person today. I wanted to raise 2 points and also respond to a couple of things that were brought up. I handle contract enforcement and legal and ordinance enforcement for our membership statewide. We represent about 50,000 workers, probably 40,000 of whom are either security officers or janitors. And what our staff in this union spend the most time doing is dealing with contractors' failures to pay hours correctly, to pay wage increases correctly, to accredit people correctly for their vacations. While I've been sitting here, I was looking at just the last hour or so of work on wage theft cases that the union handles internally in California. We have brought back about $2.5 million in the last 15 months or so for our membership statewide. And those wage theft claims account for about 10% of our membership statewide. It is about the most common issue that we find in janitorial and security. And there was a report published just a couple weeks ago by the State Legislative Audit Committee, which found that the Labor Commission, who's normally responsible for that, has a backlog of 47,000 cases they haven't been able to adjudicate yet. They have a 135-day timeline to hear cases. Their average case processing time is 854 days. So I think the critical issue here is the wage theft matter and protecting the workers in the city buildings from that and allowing them to have representation that can enforce and protect them from wage theft.
Thank you. Your time is complete.
I'm sorry, just one fact.
Time is complete.
We do not charge $90.
Brandy Tucson Boyd.
Thank you.
Followed by Leonard Chihuahua and then Christine Alvarez.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandy Tucson Boyd, and I serve the council as a volunteer on the city's Disabilities Advisory Commission. While I understand the desire to establish equity for all of those who work service jobs, the proposed language change has the potential to exclude a class of worker who is already frequently overlooked but wishes to be employed. Those are individuals who have disabilities. Lincoln currently supports 8 individuals with developmental disabilities working in janitorial services for the city. Each one is an Alta Regional client who gets job coaching, transportation, and a living wage plus benefits. The staff report notes that after nearly a decade working with the city, Lincoln would no longer be eligible to bid for janitorial services contract if the proposed language changes are adopted today. While these existing employees' positions would be guaranteed by law for 60 days, they will not get the wraparound support which empowers them and enables them to be successfully employed in our city. They would also lose their medical and other benefits. Thank you for considering a pathway for individuals with developmental disabilities to be gainfully employed by the city when discussing the proposed language changes today.
Thank you. Thank you. Lenore Chihuahua, Christine Alvarez, and Maria Zarazuza.
I'm going to provide translation for Leonor. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Leonor Chihuahua. Soy janitor y tengo 24 años limpiando los edificios de la ciudad de los bomberos para Lincoln Training. En el día y de noche también limpio en Apple Computing. Tengo también 24 años con ellos en el GRO. Soy delegada del sindicato y parte del comité negociador de USWW. Un nuevo contrato para todos los 2,000 janitors de Sacramento son seguros, familiar, vacaciones, días festivos y ahora con pensión. Eso teníamos todos los beneficios del contrato de USWW en el 2010, cuando la ciudad nos cambió a Living White y cuando la ciudad quitó la compañía de unión que teníamos por Lincoln Training. Desde ese día perdimos beneficios. Mi esposo y yo nos quedamos sin aseguranza médica, sin acceso al medicamento, pero gracias a mi contrato de USWW pude conseguir la aseguranza médica para mi familia y por mi trabajo en la noche en Apple, donde ganamos el plan médico familiar. Good afternoon. My name is Leonor Chihuahua. Good to see everybody again. I am a janitor and I have been cleaning city buildings, including the building at the fire department for Lincoln Training Center during the day, and at night I clean at Apple Computer in Elk Grove, where I am the union steward and part of the negotiation committee for USWW. We just won a new contract for all 2,000 Sacramento janitors with family insurance, vacation, holidays, and now pension. We once had these same benefits with USWW contract until 2010, when the city changed us to the living wage and when the city removed the union company we had for Lincoln Training Center. From that day on, I lost my benefits. My husband and I were left without medical insurance and without access to medication. But thanks to my USWW contract, I was able to get health insurance for myself and my family through my night job. Thank you.
Thank you. Followed by Maria Zarzua and Martina.
Good afternoon. My name is Christina Alvarez. I'm a union representative on behalf of 2,000 janitors here in Sacramento, and I ask for your support for our janitors as well as our security officer members. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Irma Plasencia, and I'm working for janitor for more than 25 years. And I'm coming today for give support and my partners for the who's clean the city, and for they had the same benefits and the protections like the rest, the other janitor, the union in Sacramento. Thank you so much, and I'm say sorry for my English, but I'm gonna try.
You're great. Thank you. Thank you. Maria, followed by Martina.
Welcome.
Hola, soy María.
Trabajo como janitor en el edificio de Calster. Estoy aquí para apoyar a los compañeros que limpian la ciudad y tengan los mismos beneficios y protecciones como el resto de los janitors de Unión en Sacramento, California. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Sarasua. I'm a janitor cleaning at the building in Calsters, and I'm here to ask for your support so that the janitors who clean the city buildings also have the same benefits as we have and the other 2,000 janitors in Sacramento. Thank you.
Did I miss Maria?
That's me.
So we have Martina Caro.
Mi nombre es Martina Cano y trabajo por 8 años limpiando los edificios aquí en Sacramento. Gracias.
My name is Martina Cano. I'm also a janitor for the last 8 years, also cleaning different buildings here in Sacramento. Thank you.
Baldi Kidoa and Dora Silva.
What was the first one, I'm sorry?
Baldi?
Dora Silva.
Okay, if you just want to line up and whoever's next, just come
Okay,
on up.
thank you.
No problem. Just state your name.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Dora Silva, trabajo como janitor en Cali, PA y en otros edificios del centro. Estoy aquí para apoyar a los compañeros janitor que trabajan para Ciudad limpiando y que tengan los mismos beneficios que tenemos los janitor con Unión. Gracias.
My name is Dora Silva. I'm a janitor cleaning at the Cali EPA building just across the street, as well as other buildings with her other union job, and she's here also to ask for support so that workers just like her can have the same benefits. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Araceli Quesada. I work for Spencer Building, and I'm working in the 6025 North Market. I'm support for the janitors for the work for the city.
My name is Araceli Quesada. I'm a janitor cleaning at 1625 North Market. It's a state building out in Natomas, Department of Consumer Affairs. I'm also here to ask for support for my fellow janitors. Thank you.
We have one additional speaker, Irma Placencia.
Oh, she already spoke.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you.
My apologies for the names. That would conclude our speakers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone for coming out and sharing your views on this item. Before I pass it over, I actually just have one really quick question for staff. I noticed on the PowerPoint presentation that it said that this would be $90 in dues. I heard from a representative from the union that that's not true. Just have a question. You know, how did that number get chosen? How did it end up on the PowerPoint? And is it accurate?
Sorry, yes, let's correct the record. The maximum amount of union dues is $90. It is a 1.5%, or 1.5% of the member's gross salary up to a maximum of $90.
Okay, and I'm seeing that that's not true, you know, from their perspective. So just a note, I think, you know, want to make sure that whenever we're presenting information that we are hopefully talking with some of our union partners and presenting the correct information. Okay. Okay, perfect. And now I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Valenzuela. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you all for taking time to come speak to us. It's greatly appreciated, particularly the senoras who've been cleaning the city buildings for many years. I really appreciate your service to our city. I do want to say that, I mean, we could go point by point on arguments for and against the change, but ultimately what I do agree with staff about is that this is ultimately a policy decision that we need to make. This was prior practice of this council. This was direction from this council in 2020. And once again today, we are deciding whether or not this is the path forward for our janitors. So I'd like to ask Michaela on my team has a copy of the handout I provided to my colleagues so that the public could see it as well. We might need to move it around a little bit based on the overhead, but thank you, Michaela. Most qualified paper distributor ever. Because I believe really strongly that there are some changes being made, and I was hesitant to just verbally go over things, and so wanted to ensure that we were clear, and also obviously making the caveat that the city attorney has not had a chance to review this language, and so there might need to be further changes and clarification that we would work on after today if my colleagues are agreeing with this proposed change. Oh yes, there it is. So I know it's a little small for folks in the audience, but I do want to make a few changes here suggested, and this is all based on staff's language. So where you see the black non-italicized quote, that is in the current staff proposal, and the red italicized text is in a new proposal, and strikeout is obviously language I'm proposing to change, although actually I took all the strikeout out, so never mind. So I want to make clear that this change is for contracts on a move forward basis. We are not asking staff to reopen current contracts to renegotiate terms. This is for moving forward. If a contract is amended, extended, a new contract is approved, that on a move forward basis, this criteria would apply. We are also proposing to change, rather than requiring a collective bargaining agreement, to accept a letter of intent. What a letter of intent essentially does is commits that contractor to say that if they are awarded the contract, they will follow through with essentially what is card check neutrality, which allows the individuals employed by that contractor to make the ultimate decision onto whether or not they'd like to be recognized by the union and proceed from there. In the 32 years of service, Andrew tells me nobody's ever said no, but we do provide the choice, because no union wants to come in and represent people who don't want to be represented by them. So that is essentially what that does, is it allows for a more streamlined process for somebody like Lincoln, which was mentioned today. If they say, you know what, we want to keep bidding on this contract, all they need is a letter of intent with the union to be able to proceed with that bid. It doesn't require a fully fleshed out and negotiated collective bargaining agreement. The second change that I'm proposing is simply to reflect that first change by adding letter of intent into the existing staff language when it comes to documents the city may request as they're examining each bid. The third change is actually in response to staff's concerns. Staff appropriately expressed concerns about on-call emergency services, which were not intended to be included with this change. And so under consultation with SEIU, we've decided to explicitly exempt on-call emergency services from the services that this ordinance would apply to. And then the fourth and fifth change both pertain to prevailing wage. This is an interesting point to me because I found it really perplexing in the staff report that we were simultaneously arguing that living wage pays more, but also that this change would cost more. I don't believe both things can be true at the same time. Either we're offering now higher wages and this change would lower them, or this change would increase costs to the city. It's one or the other. And currently the way the city's living wage is structured, it makes benefits optional, and it doesn't require the wages to be higher. So in theory, if I'm offering you benefits, I would pay you lower wages because I'm paying for your benefits, and if I don't offer benefits, I should pay you more because you're having to pay for those benefits, but that's not the way it's currently structured. The hourly wage stays the same with or without benefits, and so $18.50 is currently the dollar amount I believe that we require contractors to offer, and that is significantly lower than the benefits that the contract would provide. All of that to be said, I believe this is a request that is being asked for by the workers and those who represent the workers. It is incredibly paternalistic for us to say that we think we know better. And so I am asking my colleagues today to please support my motion, which is to approve the ordinance as amended by this document that I have handed out to you all that was on display on the screen. And I hope that my colleagues will consider supporting this motion today. As I mentioned, this was our practice pre-2010. I do believe it was an inadvertent change in 2010 that accidentally led us to undercut the bargaining that had been happening prior to 2010 for city contracts. I will also say that Andrew has informed me that our security contractors who are using non-union staff to guard City Hall, who are signatories, are intentionally not bringing City Hall contract under the signatory agreement because they're worried they'll lose the contract. They're worried that because the costs will go up if they bring those security officers under their contract, that they might lose the contract because they're going to have to bid a higher cost to the city. And so this change is going to raise the floor. These security companies already offer these benefits to their workers and these wages to their workers. They're just not doing it here. And so this is a change that we can offer that will level the playing field and really ensure in the end that we're listening to the workers and giving the workers what I believe they're entitled to, which is at the minimum healthcare benefits. So those are my proposed changes, colleagues. Happy to answer any questions. I know some of you are seeing this for the first time today, but we'll leave this up on the projector for the public. And thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I would like to clarify a couple of things, if I may. Okay, so I do want to make a final correction after speaking with Andrew. It's a little higher than the 1.5%. It's 2.3% of the employee's gross salary, up to $70 a month. And then as far as the living wage rates, We have a special janitorial living wage that has been used now since 2020, and it doesn't decrease the hourly wage or the hourly salary. So they will make $18.50 no matter what. And then if they elect the health benefits, they get an additional $7.47, which is higher than any top tier of the prevailing wage. And then the other thing I want to know, and I wasn't here in 2010, so I'm going to look behind me while I say this statement, but I believe the 2010 was just a matter of prevailing wage. It wasn't that they were required to be unionized. Is that correct? And
Please come up to the podium.
okay.
Would you mind stating your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pete Coletto, Finance Director. I did want to add one other thing. So as far as the cost differential, most of that is really associated with the security contracts. So our janitorial living wage is already, again, higher than what we see as the prevailing wage. And so that's when we gave that estimate of the 500 to 650,000,
Yeah, I believe the
it's almost all
janitorial
security.
was a very small portion. It was about 18,000. And with the security, you are correct. The security companies do offer the non-unionized and the union, and in our research and speaking to them, they have two figures that they use when they bid. And so it's a 7% increase, best practice, if they bid on a project with unionized staff. When it's non-unionized, it's 7% lower, which is how we came up with the estimate.
Okay, that's super helpful for clarification. Thank you. I will just say to your point, though, that you and I actually aren't saying different things when it comes to the living wage for janitors. I have seen that. $18.50 is the base salary. It is higher if they offer benefits, but the base salary if they don't offer benefits isn't higher, assuming that, if that employee is having to assume healthcare costs. That was my broader point, is normally... Yeah. So just saying that holds constant, that if I was an employer and I was only required to do $18.50 and the other part was optional, that's part of what we're trying to address. It is.
But we can change that.
And thank you for the back and forth a little bit. I will also just note that prevailing wage when it comes to the janitors does get updated. So perhaps there might be an adjustment in the future for security contracts moving forward and updated. But again, part of a collective bargaining agreement would be including future salary increases as well. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll move on to Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you. I thank everybody for being here, in this discussion, because I think it does need to be something that, as a policy-wise, we look at. Quick question, because sometimes when I look at changes, I always ask, what's the problem in the first place? And a lot of what I hear is questions about wage theft. Have we looked at our janitorial contractors and our security contractors, and do we have a wage theft problem with the contractors we currently have?
I do not have any knowledge of wage theft issues with our current contractors.
No, and we do ask for. And we've never seen anything or any discretions.
Just because I do also know that labor code, specifically service worker protections, section 14 in labor code states that the employer, if they've not satisfied a final judgment for unpaid wages, we cannot register or renew them to be a contractor. So state law already has in place that if somebody, not even with the city, but somewhere else, has wage theft, that we cannot bring them on as a contractor. Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm going to defer to my city attorney. It is correct. Okay. We can look at it, but.
So this is really helpful, but part of, I just want to say I am not ready to vote on this item today, just because I think I kind of have a standard when something new comes forward, and while I think the back and forth is really helpful, I think there's questions about potential unintended consequences that I would like to get clarification of. First, one, can we verify that we don't have issues of wage theft? Two, if we find out notification of wage theft with these companies, does the labor code already prevent the city from hiring them as a contractor? Two, also, I got notice that our contractor, Lincoln Training Center, was not notified about this, so they couldn't be here. So as this is something that would potentially affect them, I can't vote on something where I don't hear from Lincoln Training Center. I am also extremely supportive of, I know what Pride Industries does, I know what Lincoln Training Center does, I know what Alta does. Ms. Boyd is correct. I cannot make a decision on something that is going to disadvantage an organization who's not even been given the chance of whether they want to sign a letter of intent, and further hamper those who are in our disabled community where this is a source of pride, having worked with numerous students as a school board member who get hired by Pride and Alta and are working at the River Cats and are working at our grocery stores and are working in these positions. For me, I want to see the big picture because I'm afraid of unintended consequences. One of the other questions I have, if you could get verification for me, is I heard that the Sacramento County put out an RFP for janitorial services. It was Pride Industries. They went with a low bid. And that low bidder said that they were going to keep Pride Industries and do wraparound services, but at the 60 days guaranteed, they dropped them, and that they are now looking for new janitors to fill that. I just need to understand if that is true or not, because I want to see the bigger picture. Are we unintentionally hurting those in the disability community? But two, I also want to understand, is there a problem here in the city? You know, I do not doubt that there are bad contractors out there, but I need to make sure, what are we doing in the city? And if we change this, is this actually going to address the problem that we are looking to solve? And then honestly, I just have to be mindful. I am very supportive of unions and that protection, but we as a city have an obligation. We have millions and millions in deficit that is coming forward. And it's a policy we have to look at balancing. You know, if we make this decision, what is the cost? And then we have to say, you know, Pete's now got to update our budget forecast, and what more do we have to cut next year, which already said that it was going to be potentially 70 million. If we get some state money, it might be 50 million. And if Howard and Laney do some magic with Pete, maybe we get it down to 30 and 40 million, but we're still going to have to cut. And that cut is still 4 years out. So what does that do on the grand scheme of things if we do this? How many more people are going to have to lose their jobs? Because there's no other way than people losing their jobs to get out of the budget deficit. So I personally have a fair amount to balance, and I don't feel like I have enough information in front of me to say, is this going to solve a problem? Do we have a problem? Are there any unintended consequences that we need to look at? And then if we have this discussion again, any of our contractors that this might affect, can we reach out and invite them so that they can be here? Because we as a city deserve to hear from them as well. And I want to thank Ms. Boyd for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. And moving on, Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. First, I want to thank staff for taking the time to work through this item and clarifying for the record some of the issues here. We've been working on this now, well, you heard since 2010, and then 10 years later, I was involved in the 2020 conversations, even pre-pandemic. And, the real issue here is we have a depressed market for janitorial labor. That's the challenge here. And as a city, I think earnestly, we've tried to figure out ways prudently and financially responsible to elevate those wages so that the rest of the market, the rest of the private market as well, follows it, so we create some level of competition for this labor. But the challenge here, and why is this a policy question, and it really is that do we want to address what is a depressed labor market or not? And unfortunately, what happens in these scenarios, and what's happened in the past, is the option to have health care or not when someone is making so little results in taking the cash and then putting themselves at risk because of a depressed labor market. Now, people can say, well, they have an option or a choice, but is it really? I mean, I know from working in piece rate labor that, this is a way that you reduce the cost of production of an item, whether it's drywall or picking peaches, that you forego the health care to make as much money as you can at the time. And in this scenario, it's not piece rate labor, it's hourly wage labor, but local governments and joint powers authorities, or SHRA and others included, have been complicit in that. And I think what we've tried to do is find a way over and over again to address our financial standing and also address that of janitors. And I know as a janitor myself, when I worked the night shift, I mean, it's extreme work that you're doing at night by yourself, and our security workers are protecting our janitors, and they're also in situations where they put themselves at risk to do a job that helps us do our work. When we come to work, the place is clean, it's healthy, it's sanitized, and it's a place that we can feel respected one here. I will say that that moving forward on this item, at least we're trying here. We're trying to make a change in that. And my frustration really is that we got into this discussion in 2010, and here we back are again. So I think that, by following, Labor Code 23.85, what we're essentially doing is we're pushing the market to start recognizing that we have to address the health care and the wage cost for a job that frankly is necessary but has a depressed labor market. So it's not that the city has been unwilling or that we have people who don't care about our janitorial services, is that I think we need to be leaders in this and trying to address that gap. Again, this requires a letter of intent. It is enforcing everyone to present immediately a collective bargaining agreement. It's giving workers a choice to say, can I be in an environment where I can advocate for myself in the private market as well? I think what this does is this helps us in that form. But finally, I get a little more emotional about this because my family's been in the cleaning service, in the sanitary service. I've done the cleaning service, and when you're in the custodial services, many times people walk around you and while you're doing your job and they ignore you. They almost seem like as you don't exist. And you're exposed to chemicals. At night, because you're doing this work at night, people just think all of a sudden somehow the carpet got clean all of a sudden. It's like your kids that if you don't, they all of a sudden think that my laundry gets washed on themselves, right? So what I find frustrating is how much energy we've put in on such a minor change for our lowest, hardest paid workers, who historically have always been immigrants, women, and people who are trying to find their opportunity to really earn a living and make that next step. I mean, if you think about the conflict and the controversy that we've had over this, it's been so much for those who make so little. And again, we can argue the details back at all of these points, but it really comes down to that point. We're trying to address it. So I appreciate my colleague, for the concerns brought up about how does this impact all of our finances for the next year. Yes, that is an important consideration, and also to recognize that this is in the respect of our $1.5 billion budget, one that is very minor, but the impacts to the folks are very different. So I'll second the motion here and to say at least we're trying to figure out this step forward. And hopefully what this will do is will signal to the other building operators, whether they be municipal or private, that we have to change the standard. And I'll leave it at that, and I'm more interested about making sure we take a step forward than what we have been in the past.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I see our Assistant City Manager has come to the podium.
Yes, good afternoon, Lainey Milstein, Assistant City Manager. And I have to say I'm struggling because the information that our living wage, and if I can just put this up for you for a moment, our living wage is $18.50 per hour no matter what. And if you choose to take benefits, you get an additional $7.47. So our total is always $25.97. That is the max. And where I'm confused in what's being recommended around recommending a prevailing wage is that this is the current prevailing wage, and it sets a basic hourly rate at $16.80. And then after 30 months, you get $6.43. And we'll just give that it is 20, that it does add up to less than our combined living wage. So I'm concerned that that total of prevailing wage is actually less than what our total for salary and benefits is for living wage. So I just want to make sure that there's not something that we're missing. Diana, did you have something to add to that?
No, and I guess that I agree with Councilmember Kaplan with doing the more research in the sense that at first appearance, it shows that the prevailing wage is in the $16 range, and they're going to get insurance at a certain point in time of their work, regardless of whether they want it or not. But with our living wage, they get to choose it if they want it or need it, but they will get the $18.50 in their hands no matter what. They won't get the $16.80. And ours does too go up every year based on CPI. So that's where I'm confused with the prevailing wage and living wage.
Okay. But we just want to make sure that our folks, no matter what, that something doesn't go down with an unintended consequence of not understanding the difference between our living wage and the prevailing wage for janitors. There is no prevailing wage for security. We are at the mercy of whatever is bid. So we pay whatever rate the bids come out to be. So,
Okay. I see a question from Councilmember Valenzuela.
Yes, I was hoping to invite Andrew with SEIU up if you'd care to respond to that assertion. And I did forget, and Andrew pointed out, and Lainey, I don't know if you could leave that language sheet up there that was on the projector. But the final part of the proposal, which I did skim over, my language, the redlined.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, thank you. You took it with you. So the part of the proposal and the final change, when we asked them to come in at the top of the most current prevailing wage, Andrew, do you want to come up and just respond to Ms. Milstein's concern?
Mind stating your name and organization, please?
Sure. Andrew Gross-Gaetan. I'm the Vice President for SEIU USWW. So the prevailing wage that the PUC publishes for janitorial is based on our two master collective bargaining agreements for janitorial. There's one in Southern California and one in Northern California. Those have historically been 4-year agreements, and when we complete bargaining of each 4-year cycle, we then submit those numbers to the DIR and they update the prevailing wage determination accordingly. So the prevailing wage that was just up on screen was what was in place as of December of 2023. That collective bargaining agreement expired April 30th. There's since been a new one negotiated from 2024 through 2028. Again, the full rate starting in the new agreement, starting May 1st of 2024, is going to be $26.50, and it goes up. It goes up more quickly than CPI. That first increase for 2024 is 6.78% in the overall hourly labor cost, and it goes up from 6% annually for 25, 26, and 27. And there is a very significant difference between 1850 plus 747 if health benefits are offered, and health benefits are not mandatory. So you can comply by paying $18.50, or in this case, $26.50, where the entire package is mandatory. There's a big difference. It's wonderful to have 747 available for healthcare if the employer chooses to offer healthcare, but if there's no obligation to offer healthcare, that's not a very meaningful obligation.
Thank you so much. Very helpful information. Okay, I see next Mayor Pro Tem Talamantes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. When we talk about our budget, we have a massive budget. We have a lot of city positions. We have cuts. But I just feel like we're going to continue having these tough decisions and tough conversations. But we're really forgetting that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the people who never stopped working, who put their lives on the line, their families on the line, were our janitors. And I just want us to remember that scary moment during the pandemic when we got to work from home. The people that had to come to work is the lovely ladies in the audience right now. And I just want to thank you for your service to our city, and thank you for the work that you do. Because like Councilmember Guerra said, many times people walk around, they dismiss our janitors, and our janitors have very dangerous jobs, especially right now dealing with our homeless crisis. They're picking up after all of us every day of our lives. And so quiero darle las gracias a toda la gente que vino hoy y por decir sus comentarios. Ustedes son muy importantes para nosotros. Y nomás quiero dar muchas gracias por venir. And I just want to take a moment just to remind everybody how hard they worked for us during the COVID-19 pandemic. So as we go through with budget cuts, our janitors are so darn important. And we got to prioritize them and their well-being and their families too. And I do want to say that the city putting the union dollar amount in the PowerPoint was not our place. And I know we now have some corrections thanks to Andrew Gross-Gaitan, who's in the audience today, who is recovering, who made it out here for this really important conversation. Andrew, I know life happens and you're here, and thank you for correcting the record. But for city staff, that's not our place. And if we're gonna put a number up there that doesn't belong to us, let's make sure that we at least check in with the person that created that number and ask if it's correct. That was wrong. And I do want to say, with letter of intent, we changed the language from collective bargaining agreement to letter of intent, letter of intent. Letter of intent, so collective bargaining agreement means that the employee's already in a union, must be union. Letter of intent means that the employees have the option. So if employees want to say, hey, yes, I want to join a union, then they can. And if no, they don't want to join a union, then they don't have to. That's their choice. So I hope that with the letter of intent language change in this ordinance, it accomplishes the mission of keeping our employees here at the City of Sacramento who do have disabilities, who are not union. Those people matter too. And they go hand in hand. Our unions are fighting for better working conditions, for better health care, for better worker protections, just like our Disabilities Advisory Commission is fighting for better conditions for people with disabilities. And we as a city of Sacramento need to do better in that area. We need to do a lot better. And I really just feel like they go hand in hand. And I want to make sure that the employees that we currently have with the Lincoln Training Center stay here at the City of Sacramento. And we need to do better. So I asked the motion maker to maybe include direction to have the city attorneys review and make possible changes so that we protect these individuals.
Yes, and I see the city attorney had queued up, but yes, that is part of my motion, is to ensure, obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I drafted this language today in partnership with SEIU if there needs to be further clarification or changes in alignment with our intent with this language, obviously.
And Vice Mayor, that's exactly why I had queued up, but I know Councilmember Jennings is
the secretary's not here, but once he arrives, we will confirm with the secretary.
I'm happy to take that direction, yes.
Okay, great. All right, Councilmember Jennings.
So I'll start with the incredible employees, janitors who we have here who do the work every single day that makes us proud as a city. And I applaud you for the work that you do every single day. And I thank you. And so I want to start with that because that's where Councilmember Talamantes left off. I'm also glad to hear that wage theft is not an issue at this point in time within the city. But I thought Councilmember Kaplan had a great point as far as, are we ready to really talk about this based on the information that we've seen? Are we ready to have this discussion? Are we ready to make a decision? I'm concerned that Lincoln Training Center is not here at the table, and I think they should be here. I'm concerned that we got information about $90 per month in union dues, that might not be accurate. It might be less, or it might be more. I don't think it's more, but it might be less. But the information that we got in our reports was $90 per in union dues. I'm confused about the prevailing wage conversation versus the living wage conversation, and we're being educated while we're sitting on the dais. So if I'm confused about it as a council member, I would imagine that the workers are confused about it as well. So I'm confused about that. So I think for me, I'm just trying to understand why we're talking about all of this with the misinformation that we've gotten. And to me, I think we need to have the correct information in order to be able to make a decision of how we move forward. So I'm not in support of moving forward today because I don't feel we have the information necessary. Now, if we've got all the correct information now that we didn't have before, then that's something different. But I just think we didn't come prepared to make a decision today based on the information that was given to us. And that concerns me. And so I'd like to know how we address that if I'm going to vote in one way or the other on this important issue for some of our most important workers.
Councilmember. And just quickly before I move on, Councilmember Valenzuela accepted an amendment to her motion, and Councilmember Guerra, I wanted to.
Yes.
Did you hear it in the back?
Yes,
okay, and you accept that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Madam City Attorney, did you still want to speak?
I do, because I need to understand what I'm supposed to do. Should the council vote to move forward on this ordinance? And we also just, and I'm fully respectful of how long the council's been trying to get this through, and so it's not my intent to slow anything down, and it's the council's decision tonight what you do. We just got it. To your point, Mayor Pro Tem Talamantes, I too don't want to make a mistake, and I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to vet it in my office. We have our DORC process. We vetted this ordinance already, and so I don't understand letter of intent. I appreciate the explanation. There's a couple places that it's used here. Like I don't know what the regional agreement means. How does that affect it? So I'm just going to sit here and make a pitch for 1 week. But I just want to put that out there. You know, I understand the desire to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, important information. Councilmember Valenzuela?
If we could, so what I'd like to vote on this direction, because I do want there to be a vote today, because the janitors have been waiting for a very long time to see this vote occur. If it needs to come back as like a full ordinance that we adopt, then that's fine as an additional step once the city attorney's office. But I do want to vote that this is the direction that we want to pursue as the city attorney's office after your review needs to come back and
like Tuesday.
Yeah.
For
exactly.
We can do that.
That'd be great. I appreciate you for being flexible on that because, we saw the proposed language on Thursday and then I was on the phone with Andrew on Friday and over the weekend. And so apologies that we weren't able to get this to you sooner, but I think we were both in earnest trying to address some of the concerns that were expressed while still staying true to the intention of what we were.
So the vote tonight would be direction to bring it back on Tuesday for a final vote. That will give my office the opportunity to do last minute dorking.
Yes.
And then come back.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just to clarify,
I'm confused.
Okay, one moment, please. Madam City Clerk.
just to clarify, we're talking about Tuesday, the 25th, next Tuesday.
Correct. Before council recess.
See, Councilmember Kaplan, do you have a question?
I just want to clarify because I didn't understand the agreement. So what are we voting on to agree to bring this back next Tuesday, or are we voting on this language now?
We're voting to bring this language back on Tuesday. So we are saying we support this language and that we're asking the city attorney to bring back the full ordinance next Tuesday that implements the language in front of you.
So that's
This is not a delay motion. This is a motion to bring back an ordinance that reflects the language in front of you.
Because
today.
here's the thing, I can support delaying to bring back the final language which will give more information, attorney analysis back next Tuesday, but I don't have all of the information. Lincoln Center is not here.
You've made your point very clear.
Okay, thank you for interrupting me. I'd like to finish my comments. I would like to vote yes. I would hope that we could all agree that getting the accurate information, giving the attorney to come back is something that we want to do because we all support our janitors. And I think we need accurate information and all of the information. If it's to go forward on this language and then to bring it back again, because I don't have full information and staff does not have full information, the attorney has not given the information, I can't be in support of it.
Thank you. Councilmember Valenzuela, do you want to continue your comments?
I would, thank you. So I did want to give Andrew a chance to come up just to respond to a couple of questions, because I do agree, Councilmember Jennings, it's been disturbing tonight and in the prior few days, the information that we've received. Because, we're seeing old prevailing wage numbers, we're seeing union dues that aren't current, we're seeing things that didn't feel right. And this is something that Andrew has been working very studiously. If you want to come up to the podium, Andrew, studiously with us to try to answer, because some of this was the first time he had seen it, and he represents janitors. So I know there has been a flurry of work. I think what's important for me is that Andrew gets a moment to talk about both wage theft and folks with disabilities who might be working in the buildings, and then I'll make a final comment before hopefully we can get to the question.
If you could briefly address that.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. With regards to the living wage is, and I shared this information with the council by email, I think it was yesterday. To my knowledge, there's one living wage ordinance in the city, and that living wage ordinance sets the total rate as $18.50 with $2.42 as a potential set aside for health care, so that you get 16 and change. If there's no health benefits, you get $18.50. Excuse me, the other way around. You get 16 and change if your employer offers health coverage. You get $18.50 if your employer does not. That's the ordinance I'm familiar with. That's supposed to be updated by CPI annually. That's written into the code. The existence of a janitorial living wage was news to me in conversations with the staff over the last couple of weeks, that this ordinance is, this issue has been up to vote. But in terms of what Eric was raising about sort of labor market and prices and where does the city stand here on all of these rates, the regional agreement, Ms. Wood, is, Alcala Wood, sorry, it's the Northern California Master Agreement that I mentioned. It covers from the Bay Area to here. That is the market standard for about 80–90% of the Class A office buildings in the Sacramento regional market, from Vacaville to Folsom to Roseville. And a wage of $18.50 with optional $7 and change for health care is significantly below that full rate contract. So in terms of parity depressed labor market, we're asking the city to come up to the standard of the surrounding market, not to set a new bar, but to be at parity with the people working at any of these buildings within walking distance. With regards to the disabled workers, that's something of a lot of a concern to us. Pride Industries is the largest federal disability employer in the country, and Pride approached us voluntarily over 20 years ago. Because they felt we had an alignment in mission, as we feel. And Pride has done the Sacramento airport for quite some time. The new contractor that bid came in through a letter of intent. They're from out of state. They said they wanted to bid on the Sacramento airport. We said, sure, if you want to sign a letter of intent that you'll keep people and honor the contract, fine. You're welcome to work with us and take on our members. They have not started work. They start work on July 1st, so it's not possible that they have failed to retain disabled workers at the airport because they're not, the workers at the airport are still employed by Pride as we speak. They have been working with the Alta Regional Center to see if there's a way to keep them because those people are actually employed through Alta Regional Center's employment program. So they're willing to do it. They do it in airports in other states, but that conversation is in process, and we're engaged with them on it. With regards to the city's disabled janitors and veterans, Pride employs the majority of those people here at the city. Lincoln Training Center has a much smaller portion of the janitorial contract. Those 8 individuals who've been mentioned, I don't know if they are, because we don't represent them, if they're in the Alta Regional Program, where their employment is part of the state support of disabled employees and they're assigned here, or if they are employees of Lincoln Training Center. What I can say is, just like the company that called us from out of state about the airport, if Lincoln Training Center were willing to talk to us, we would be happy. We would be excited to try and figure out a solution that allows Lincoln Training Center to stay, that keeps those employees in place, and that hopefully gets them an improvement in wages and benefits. So I don't know why Lincoln Training Center isn't here. All these meetings have been posted publicly. They're not new to the city. They've been doing business here for 14 years. The last issues on the wage theft and the dues, the city person who just approached me a minute ago, they found the dues for Local 1000, which represents state employees. That's not us. United Service Workers West is a different organization. I'm an officer of the organization. Our dues are 2.3%. The current max for monthly dues is $71. And that's based on people's regular wages. With regards to wage theft, as I said, is one of the most substantial problems in this industry. Neither janitorial companies nor security companies invest a lot in their HR or in their payroll. The dollar amounts I mentioned, $2.5 million for what may be about 5,000 of our members, that's from the best companies. That's from the companies who've agreed to a union contract. They've agreed to pay the highest benefits in the industry. They've agreed to pay pension. They've agreed to a grievance process. That's for workers who don't have to worry about getting fired when they bring a wage theft problem forward. What happens in the non-union industry? Again, the reason there exists the law that the city attorney was referencing about unpaid dues, unpaid wage theft claims, is because we were the sponsors of that law, that it should be illegal to do business in California as a janitorial or a security company if you haven't paid a judgment against you. So is there a problem with the city? My guess is yes, because my experience is if you walk into a building and talk to a janitor or a security officer anywhere in the state, union or not, there will be problems with their not having gotten everything paid correctly. There just will be. They have a mechanism to fix it under a union contract, but outside of that,
Yeah, thank you very much for all of that. I really appreciate it. I do really quickly, I saw that there were some heads shaking over here for some of maybe the beginning part. I don't know if city staff had anything additional they wanted to bring up. Just the 2 different, okay.
Yeah, we do have the 2 living wages, and the janitorial living wage was implemented in 2020 with the current janitorial contract. And that one does not deduct the benefits from the $18.50 an hour. It's an addition to where the one you speak of, the $2.40 odd cents, that one is the living wage, not the janitorial living wage. And just to clarify, and we take full responsibility for the $90 dues. Online, it does say that through the SEI website, but the clarification, and I want to ask Andrew, since you're standing here, it is 2.3% up to $70 per month.
71.
$71.
USWW.
Okay, so just a clarification on the record that it is 2.3% of the employee's salary up to $71 per month.
Thank
Not
you so
as
much.
the website says.
Really great.
The confusion, if I may, the
If it's
confusion's
okay,
understandable.
I just want to make sure, I want to be respectful of time, please. And also, I really appreciate like the back and forth. I think, this is the messy, beautiful part of policy making, and really glad that we're having this conversation. But I do also really want to be respectful of time and everyone who's here. So if you have something you want to add really briefly.
Yeah, the confusion's understandable. There are a lot of different SEIU locals. We represent janitors and security officers. They looked at those state employees' SEIU website.
Great. And, as my partner is an SEIU Local 1000 negotiator, and so there are a lot of different SEIU locals throughout the state. If it's
Just to
okay.
finish my thought, to just circle back. So this is a vote on the policy direction that we want to give to staff so that they can bring us an ordinance in whatever way makes sense for them, that's worded in the way that legally makes sense, so that we can make sure it's incorporated properly. But I do think it's important that we today take a vote on the policies so that we don't do this again in a week, because I think some of these questions for me are quite clear. I will add that when it comes to the question of is there wage theft, I don't know if any of you have had that happen to you. I have. I had to go to Department of Industrial Relations by myself. They do their best to be pro-worker. They do their best to support you. I'm a fluent English speaker. It was still incredibly intimidating. It took months to get resolved, and that was pre-COVID. And I had the luxury of waiting for that because at that point I had changed jobs and was getting a paycheck, and so I didn't need to worry about should I just leave this job and give it up because I need to go make money to provide for my family, right? So I think it's hard to know, and that's part of the question when we rely on experts, someone like Andrew, who says, yeah, I've been going around a janitorial staff my whole career, and of everywhere I go, union or non-union, there's somebody who has an issue that we are able to correct without them having to go through that multi-month process. That's a win-win, and really part of the impetus of starting to implement this policy in our city. But that is my final thing. I would love to maybe call the question, because I know there's a motion in second. Thank you.
Yeah, I was hoping to share some of my thoughts because I haven't had a chance.
Oh,
to
yeah,
speak.
sorry, you haven't had a chance.
Madam City Attorney, do you have something you want to add?
Is it okay if I have, I did ask the council members if I can ask Senior Deputy City Attorney Jennifer Gore to come up, because she's the one that's going to be doing the speed dorking, so she just has a question.
Yes, come on up.
Hi, everyone. Sorry to belabor everything, but given the timing and turnaround, I just want to be clear since we have to get everything to the city clerk by tomorrow, so that you can have it on your agenda next week. So I guess we've talked a lot about the letter of intent, and I understand which regional agreement we're referring to, but it does say, so there is language here that says the letter shall commit the contractor to honor that regional agreement awarded the service contract. So if they are awarded the service contract. So I just want to understand what is meant by to honor it, because I've heard you talk about making sure that there's card check neutrality, but the language honor the regional agreement is a little bit fuzzier than that. And so if the intent is to implement card check neutrality, then we can figure out how to do that, but I just want to make sure we have clear direction.
Is it possible for me to ask you to work with Andrew on this, since this language did come from USWW, and I don't want to speak for their attorneys who work on this, just to make sure, attorney to attorney?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I can, if it's okay with Andrew, I'm going to give the city attorney your cell phone number. He's nodding his head, so you can get that question answered. Thank you.
Okay, great. I see Councilmember Jennings up.
Just very quickly, I want to make sure the city attorney can get what we need done within a week, and we can come back on the next week before we go to recess in order to be able, you have enough time and you have the staff available to be able to get this done within a week?
I have pros on the team. They're already sitting there. That's why they needed to ask that question. So we're gonna do our level best. And if for some reason, Councilmember Jennings, I appreciate the question. For some reason, there's something that I absolutely cannot reconcile without feeling an obligation to bring to the council's attention, I will let you know. But I think we can.
Okay, and then just another clarifying question as far as Lincoln Training Center. They seem to be the missing piece for me, and I'd like to understand, can they be here at the same time while we're getting ready to make a decision that these janitors work for at this current time, and yet they're not here. Can they be here, or can we meet with them as council members before, which I know the answer to that, before we meet together next week to discuss this? Do we feel that that's important, that we have their voice be heard at this point in time? To me, that's, I have the obvious answer for myself, but I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody else.
Yeah, and I just want to say, this is my personal opinion. I think, of course, it's important to have the conversation. We'll have the week to do that. But I do want to point out one thing that Councilmember Valenzuela said at the beginning, which is the very first bullet point of the language, which is this is moving forward. So these are new or amended contracts. So if you're Lincoln and you're already in contract, this ordinance would not impact your current contract, but it would mean that you might need to make some different business decisions moving forward in order to reapply and to be considered. You know, of course, none of our contracts are ever given for any business that's applying. Just because you've had one in the past doesn't mean you'll have one again in the future. And then this is a policy decision about whether or not to change our requirements as it relates to the vendors that are applying. So, you know, I would just say that much. That it will, you know, it may impact their current situation, but not their current contract.
Yeah, I would understand that. I guess the question is, have they been invited to the table? And that's what I don't have the answer to. And so either we invite them to the table to come next week, or I invite them to come to my office to understand why they're not here at this point in time.
I think they should absolutely be invited.
Okay, so somebody did invite, but they couldn't get here. Okay.
Great. All right, thank you. Thank you for the very robust conversation. I will try to keep my comments brief too, just because I wanted to make sure that I heard all of my colleagues. I heard those in the audience and our city staff and everyone who, you know, came to participate in this conversation, hearing that there may not be some that are here, and we hope that they will be able to come in the next week when we do a final vote on this, should it move forward. But I did also want to thank the workers. I really, it was really heartening to hear Councilmember, our Mayor Pro Tem Talamante's comments, right? We know who showed up during the pandemic. We know who shows up every day after the then too, and we know who deserves our respect. And I know everyone up here respects you and cares for you and your families, and that's why we're having this important conversation. I also was really heartened by Councilmember Valenzuela's comments. I also was a victim of wage theft. It is very prevalent. I worked in the service industry for 8 years, starting at the age of 15, and still to this day have an unresolved case at the labor board. So when I hear you say there are, an insane caseload over there, I know that that's true, and it takes years and years if your case will ever even be resolved. That said, I don't know what the specifics on the contractors that we have. It could be true that we don't have, there's no issues at all, and that's information that I also am interested in. But just I do know that this is very, very prevalent, especially in the service industry. And so, it is incumbent on us that even if it is not a problem now, that we have systems in place to make sure that it's not a problem in the future, that people are protected. Because I was a poor college student working 2 jobs who couldn't afford my rent, and missing paychecks by that employer really mattered to me. It really mattered to the single mom of 5 kids that I worked with. And impacted their ability to literally, survive and put food on the table for their families. So it's real, and it impacts people who make the least, the most. And that was the last point I want to make, is around Councilmember Guerra's comments around, we have so much time and so much conversation over, the people who are making some of the least, right? And for me, it just seems, it really should be the other way around, and we really should be doing everything that we can to make sure that we're taking care of our lowest paid workers and those who are taking care of us and our health and our safety. As it relates to this ordinance, for me, I view, being in this position as being a steward of the taxpayer dollars, of city funds. And that when we do that, we have a responsibility to make sure that everybody that we're working with is held to a standard, right? Because it's not a given. Right? It's not a given that you're going to get a contract with the city of Sacramento. You have to apply, and you have to show what you're bringing to the table, and you have to say, this is what we're going to provide for this amount of money, and this is how we're going to treat our employees. And I think what we do here today and in a week says, here's what our values are. We want to make sure that your values are aligned with our values. And it's okay. You don't have to unionize. You don't have to do these things, but that just means that maybe you're not the right fit for the taxpayer dollars that we are the stewards of. And so that's what's important to me. I was really glad that it was brought up that Pride Industries is a union employer. They work with people with disabilities and do a lot of really amazing work. And I hope that I hope that there's not a situation where anybody loses a position, but I do hope that if that is the case for some reason, that we all do everything that we can to ensure that they get hooked up with Pride or another organization that can help support them. So with that, I am going to ask the Madam City Clerk to call the roll.
Can we have the motion restated just for the record, please?
Yes. Sure. The motion is to bring an ordinance next Tuesday that implements the proposed policies outlined in the attachment. The city attorney is bringing back an ordinance on Tuesday. Yes.
Madam Attorney, is that check the boxes? Okay. Would you like me to call the roll?
I would love you to call the roll. Thank you.
Member Kaplan? I'm sorry?
Come back.
Councilmember Tao? Councilmember Talamontes? Aye. Member Valenzuela?
Yes.
Member Guerra? Aye. Member Jennings?
Yes.
Member Vang? Yes. And Vice Mayor Maple?
Aye.
You're voting yes? Okay.
All right, very good. Moving on. Madam City Clerk, and thank you for everyone who showed up, and appreciate all of your hard work. And this is the messy process, but I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. Do we have any public comments not on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We have 3 speakers this evening. Our first is Howard Levine, followed by Julius, and then Ryan Misano.
Welcome, Mayor.
Patience, persistence, and a sense of humor. Takes a long time to get this stuff done. So I'm coming to you because of what I learned in the previous item that was on your agenda and what we ran into or appeared to run into in the process and dealing with this tree ordinance and the significant trees that are in this city. And item number 21 in that ordinance, it reads that the tree must be removed to use the property for any use permitted as of right or by discretionary permit under Planning and Development Code for the zoning district in which the property is located, and the use could not be made of the property unless the tree is removed. And I'm not reading, I can't tell what's in the arborist's head when he's making a decision or how it works, but it seems, and in all the urban forest programming that I was watching the other day, that there is not enough in the arborist support group in this department, in the city, to really understand what private significant trees mean to neighborhoods, and that this item in this is interpreted in a way that promotes development and removes trees. And this is something you have expressed. Some of you have expressed that the trees are important to you. Significant trees take a long time. They're important financially to the community. They're important environmentally to the community. And if the community could give direction to the arborist department not to use it as a bulldozer to get rid of trees.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Julius, followed by Ryan Misano.
Last time I was here, the mayor called my speech filth. He and other city council members turned their chairs around because they did not like what I had to say. If the city council members are so confident in what they believe in, i.e. Pride Month and other degeneracy of that nature, why are they unable to face me like adults. The people of Sacramento and California need to know that the people you are electing are and can be immature children. You often hear the mayor preach about free speech, but he and other members will turn their backs on speech they don't like. That is not a leader. That is a coward. The city council members see all of us, regardless of what you believe in, as peasants. They act like tyrants because enough people do not hold them accountable. It's time to change that. It's amazing when the city council members push racial equality and inclusion but disregard a person who happens to have brown skin for having a difference of opinion. How is that inclusive? Why are we only given 2 minutes to speak, and why are we the last to speak? We graciously and patiently wait to speak, only for our speech to get shut down if or when it goes against the narrative. We deserve to be heard first. You may not like what I have to say, but what I have to say will be heard, and I demand the city council members listen. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ryan Masano.
Good evening. I just had to scrap my entire speech because the main recipient of my speech was the ringleader, which is Mayor Steinberg, and since he's not here, I'm going to reserve my comments for when he is here. But there's still plenty of subject matter to go on. I wanted to, if you could put this picture up, please.
Is it up on the screen?
I can't control his phone. I don't know why you're not seeing it, but it's on the document was up.
It's not up here either. Yeah. If you can, please pause the time while we, okay.
It was at a minute 40 when she started
Would
looking.
you mind putting it back? Thank you.
So this is just information that, you know, it's probably hard to see for the audience. Probably should have brought my laptop. But anyways, this is going to contrast Christianity and Judaism from the Talmud. So as you can...
Okay. State your point, please. 1 moment.
It doesn't align with any city business.
Thank you. So this doesn't align with city business. Can you please make your comments relevant to city business?
It does. It does. Religion, so we have freedom of religion. We don't have freedom from religion. So we're up here. We can talk about any religion we like. If Lisa Kaplan doesn't like it, she could put in earplugs or
Do
she
not
could
call out
Kaplan.
members by name. Can you please address the entire council? Thank you.
That it's also legal to call out any member that I wish to call out. So anyways, these clever interjections to try to interrupt. So Talmud approves of sodomy. Christianity forbids sodomy. The Talmud approves of child sacrifice to idols. Lisa, this is what your
Okay.
holy book teaches. I don't know why you're mad.
You
I'm just
please-
sharing with what your holy book
Sir,
teaches.
please stop.
This is a holy book that is followed by Jews, and I'm just exposing
Okay.
it. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to ask that this please be removed from the screen.
No, but there's nothing wrong with this. Is the Talmud.
You guys are interrupting him.
Can you please keep your comments to city business? Thank
So,
you.
have you ever studied the Talmud? No, you have not. So you're interrupting me while I'm trying to teach you. So there's 2 points of communication. One is to educate, one is to learn. Now, if you're not going to educate, which you don't do, I've listened to you for hours, and you're not going to learn, what is the point of communication? So if you don't like what I have to say, march. You could leave. But what I'm saying is the truth. You may not like that truth, but it's the truth. And you know what, Katie? It's going to be the truth long after you die. So you might.
Your time is complete.
All right. Do we have other city comment or public comments?
No, ma'am, there are no
All
additional
right,
comments.
thank you, Madam City Clerk. Colleagues, do we have any council comments, ideas, questions, or AB 1234 reports? I see Councilmember Valenzuela.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor. And I want to thank the city attorney for being receptive to calls last week about questions about the Brown Act. And, based on consultation with her, I do want to publicly ask for an investigation into whether any rules were broken last Tuesday. But I just want to say this broadly, that obviously, if this has occurred at the city council, it does occur on every regional board that I sit on, that executive compensation is discussed in closed session. So I do think coming out of this investigation, maybe some guidance to us and to the other regional boards about what is and is not okay, what the guardrails are, and maybe some best practices that we could employ to better ensure that we're complying with the intention of the Brown Act and our rules.
And if I may, Vice Mayor, so the council could initiate an investigation. However, given the confidential nature of closed session proceedings and kind of the vague limitations that are set forth, it's really unclear what meaningful remedy could be achieved. And I was discussing this with Councilmember Valenzuela. A more efficient approach might be to explore how your council procedural rules could be amended to really clarify with greater clarity how performance evaluations are conducted by the city council and what you expect from your appointees and what you require us to do. The session, they could include such things as requirement that all appointees provide their requests in writing, for example, and that would eventually become part of the record. You could, such clarification would then serve the council both by providing clarity on how you do these evaluations, procedural guidance, and ensure the public that the council not only continues to make these decisions legally, but also with a enhanced layer of transparency and clarity. Remember, the Brown Act sets forth a minimum requirement. The council rules can make it even a level up. This would have, I think, in the long run, the benefit of letting the public know what the rules require. Because the Brown Act, this is an gray area, and I have been, as you said, Councilmember Valenzuela, speaking to colleagues, doing research. It's a gray area. If the council were to put it in their rules, then should there be a need to investigate in the future, then it would be against the backdrop of what the rules say, and that would be a much clearer process. And so however the council wants to proceed, I just want to offer that up as a potential agenda item to come back to this council, maybe direction to myself and the city clerk to present a rule for the council consideration, however you want to do it. But I just wanted to follow up on that.
No, I appreciate that, and I think that would be an excellent next step out of the conversation. I do still personally would just like to understand if a rule was broken, just so we know better from past experience whether or not, we had historically been following our rules and what we need to do moving forward to correct it. I think that's a very good next step. Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Vang.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just have some quick announcement, and then just wanted to also note of we can adjourn in memory of one of our friends who passed away this past weekend. But before we do that, definitely just have some announcements. First, this Friday, June 21st, at the Pinnell Community Center, there's going to be an art exposition reception. The title is called Well Together, Portraits of Our Community, and it's actually led by our District 8 Artist of the Year, Janine. So come join us this Friday from 5:30 to 7:30. And then also wanted to flag this Saturday from 11:30 to 1:30 at the Valley High North Laguna Library. There will be a conversation around air quality and public health in South Sacramento, hosted by United Latinos and Valley Vision. And so encouraging people to come out to that. That is 11:30 to 1:30. And then just wanted folks to save the date for our concert in the park happening at Meadowview. That's happening Saturday, June 29th from 5 to 8 p.m. So make sure to bring your lawn signs, bring the kiddos, bring your fam, and come join us in the park to dance the night away. And then lastly, we are entering our 4th week at the Meadowview Farmers Market at the Meadowview Light Rail Station, and just encouraging residents around the area to come out. Again, that's from 8 to 1 o'clock at the Meadowview Light Rail Station, and encouraging folks to come out. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, and thank you for the reminder about the adjourn in memory. We will adjourn in memory after these comments. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Tomorrow morning, just want to invite everybody, did send the invite, 10 a.m. I'm having a press conference with Slow Down Sacramento, family of the elderly man who was unfortunately hit and killed last week, and you're all invited. It's at the corner grass lot of Divine Mercy Catholic Church on 2231 Club Center Drive. Last week, we all know 3 individuals lost their lives versus cars in a 24-hour period. COVID. And so far this calendar year, 30 people have been hit and killed by cars in Sacramento County alone, which is a largest amount that has been there. And then also Wednesday night, we're having Westlake Food Truck Mania at Westlake Park. Come join us for music, good food, and fun. And then as always, Saturday at the North Natomas Regional Park, our farmers market is from 8:30 to 12:30 and free yoga from 9 to 10. Come join us.
Thank you. Councilmember Tao.
Just to echo my colleague, Councilmember Vang, would like to request to adjourn the meeting tonight in honor of Zongchar Mua. He's also a District 2 resident, also a good friend of mine who passed this weekend. A couple of announcements in my district. The Strawberry Manors Neighborhood Association will be hosting their Unhoused Talent Show auditions, 1505 Grand Avenue at 12 p.m. Another event happening in my district is hosted by Life Up, Love Always, Lula, Juneteenth Freedom Day, Rejoice. This will be at Hagerman Park, 3271 Marysville Boulevard, from 12 to 6 this weekend on June 22nd.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I heard the term music, good food, and fun. And it sounds like that's a theme that's going on in Sacramento and it's happening in every district. So I'm really proud of my colleagues. And so I want to make sure that you know that if you're in District 7 and you want to stay in District 7, I want you to join us on Friday, the 21st, from 5 to 8 p.m. at Garcia Ben Park in the neighborhood. Bring your chairs, your blankets, your family, your friends. Join us for the delicious food from a wide variety of food trucks from Sacto Mofo. And we're also going to have some wonderful, relaxing live music in the background. Trucks and Such, just for your information, runs the third Friday of every month, and it takes place all the way through September. So come on out there. It's a great time, great fun, good chance to meet your neighbors, and you'll really enjoy it. And then my final announcement is on the District 7 July 4th Pocket Parade. The 4th of July Parade, that's right, I got your entry too. Yeah, your RSVP, that's what I'm talking about. You're going to love it. This is the biggest parade in the entire city of Sacramento on the 4th of July, if I haven't told you that before, right? But we're 2 weeks away. And so we're gearing up for this monumental celebration. Registration is still open, but they're filling up fast. And so you want to make sure you register before the deadline of Saturday, June 22nd. If you're not interested in participating in the parade, that's not a problem. You can still come out and look at the incredible floats and the endless fun for the whole family. After the parade, we want you to stop by Garcia Ben Park because I know after you walk that mile up Windbridge, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be thirsty, you're going to want something sweet, and we're going to have all the trucks there in order to make sure that you get your food, something to drink, and all the sweets that you love. So come on out. And we're also going to have the Sharp Family Trio out there. They're going to be bringing us live music. So music and food and all the kind of friendships, you can't ask for anything better. If I didn't make it clear, go to our District 7 webpage for more information. Thank you.
Excellent. And just want to say I am so bummed that I'm going to be missing that, but we have our July 4th Hollywood Park Parade. It's a little bit smaller, but it's a lot of fun. And I usually dress up as Lady Liberty, so if you want to see me in a really silly costume on July 4th, show up in the morning at 9 a.m. at H.W. Harkness Elementary in Hollywood Park. And also, then I think that's it for my announcements, and I just want to pass it on over now to Councilmember Vang and Councilmember Tao for their adjournment memory.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to adjourn tonight's, this afternoon council meeting in memory of our dear friend who we lost this past weekend. It was a devastating and also a tragic death, and I know Councilmember Tao will go into that. He was a dear friend to both of us, and it's been a pretty hard 72 hours for me when I found out about the steep loss in our community. Zong Mua was a son. He was an incredible brother, an amazing uncle to so many. For those who knew him, they knew how kind and how free-spirited human he was. If you ever had a chance to meet meet Zong, or if you had a moment with him, he had a way of making you smile and just bringing joy into your life. He was a remarkable young man in his 30s, whose journey through this world was marked by boundless spirit of adventure. He actually traveled far and wide across the world. He loved traveling so much, but his heart always remained with his family and the Hmong community that he loved dearly here in Sacramento. He was also a student that went to Sac State, and during that time, when he was a college student, he served as the president of the Hmong College Student Organization on campus as well. Zong touched many lives. He was kind, dedicated to his family, his community. He is dearly missed by me, his family, and the Sacramento Hmong community. Is in a lot of pain when we heard about his death, and we just want to take this moment to recognize the incredible life that he lived, and just hold space for our community that's mourning right now. And with that, I'll hand it over to Councilmember Tao.
Thank you, Councilmember Vang. Yeah, Zong was a dear friend of both of us. I got to know Zong because we both went to college together. I went to UC Davis. He went to Sac State. We were in different clubs, and we were, sort of competing with each other, but we're great friends. Zong loved to play basketball. Tonight, I think some of his friends and friends in the community in District 2 will be at the Robinson Center playing basketball, coming out just to meet together in honor of Zong. And, I think what happened this weekend was when you're in the waters, and definitely we have to bring more awareness to definitely wear off life jackets. We don't know what's with the currents with the water, and something happened and he got swept under it, and that's how he lost his life. So I think we need more education, more awareness in the community, so that when you're out there enjoying the summer heat, the waterways, definitely wear your life jacket. And so I want to bring awareness to that as well.
Deep condolences to you both and to Zong's family and friends. And so today we adjourn in his memory at 5:20 p.m.